Y'all, it's your boy Aniki coming at you with another Church of MHA. Hi, little baby. Getting close. The penultimate chapter. The chapter before the final chapter. The winds of change they blow. The end nears. And then all we'll have is the anime and movies that people don't want to see made. I wonder in 6 months. The movie's going to be out. I did not watch the Marvel panel yesterday. I usually don't watch Marvel panels. I'm not super into the MCU, but what up, Tiger Blaster, the Madman, Jacob Ramirez, I'm all for. But I did see the big announcement, right? Like there's one like really big announcement. Just in case nobody else saw it, I'm not gonna spoil that. But yeah, I did see like the huge one. And I like the character, I like the actor, so we'll see. I haven't been as invested in Phase 4, so if we can get me back into it, I'll always take something good. But uh, really looking forward to seeing in like November when the movies go global, of course, how people feel about the MHA movies then. Because then I feel like it'll be you know, we finally got more content. It's gonna be like this movie's get the series is gonna end next week. Um, series is gonna end next week, and after that, everything that we're getting, we know about, right? So I think as much as MHA like this fourth movie, people are still upset about it and like, we should have gotten that. I think when movie five comes out, because there's gonna be a movie, it's gonna be a movie five. I think when movie five drops, uh, people are going to be very excited because it'll be truly new content, um, and it won't disrupt anything. Yeah, and who knows? We heard rumors of more MHA projects. It'd be nice if there's like an actually good video game. I would like that, uh, but we'll see. But I'm gonna go ahead and pull up a chapter. I want to read this very badly. I want to, man, this My Hero cover. Ooh. I don't know how I feel about man, we better get a cover next week too. Fuck that. All right. Got the 10-year anniversary color page. And we got Invisible Girl, Not So Invisible, more like Refraction Girl now. Aoyama's off in the corner. I think it's interesting that Shinso's kind of like got his hand on his shoulder for support, because he took his spot. Um, if there's more big MCU news, that's cool. I didn't want to spoil anything. I don't keep up with all that stuff. So let me also just make sure these are where they need to be. So yeah, I like the color page though. Overall, good vibes. Class 1A, Aizawa, All Might getting emphasis here. Man Netta sitting down or hitting him with the Sears dad pose. Oh, okay. Little baby's over there having fun. Watching her favorite Australian YouTuber. Uh, Not the anime. Okay. Oh, okay. This is what we're starting the chapter with instead of where we left off. All I heard about my quirk was that it was a freak variant, unrelated to any others in my family's history. Out of nowhere, my mom, dad, sister, uncle, aunt, grandpa, and great grandpa stopped being nice to me. Oh, wow. They tied me up and locked me in the basement. I was so scared and sad. I started crying and screaming. So they just sewed my mouth shut to keep it from opening wide. I don't know how many years went by, but one day they told me the country's doomed and tossed a bunch of water and baked goods at me. After that, I never saw them again, ever. More time passed, and with a big crash, something cut an opening down into my basement. Just like that, I was free to go outside. The sunlight was painful and scary because I wasn't used to it. What had I done wrong? Why did I have to feel so sad? All this time, I've been so scared and sad. So why are all these people smiling so much? Man, his face is messed up. Obviously from the extensive sewing in his mouth, which I'm guessing is going to be tied to his work. I don't know. We'll see. I've always loved seeing people smile. Uh, that's why I set out to be a hero. Oh, Chaco, you could have just done the right thing, like a plain old hero. Yet you went above and beyond and spared a thought for me. And she's just thinking about Toga's sacrifice. I got to live on at the cost of Kumiko's life. It's my fault that she's Uraraka and she's covering up her feelings. Deku, why? How are you here? How did you? I just knew somehow. So I left over with One for All because this is the spot where we had our heart to heart. That's not what I meant. I said I was heading home for now, which would have been fine, but I had a feeling you'd be here. Why come though, when I don't feel like being seen? I'm sorry, but I want you to show me what you're going through. Because Uraraka, you've always been this way, even back during the entrance exam. It's my quirk, sorry for stopping you, but, well, it's a bad omen to trip and fall. And with the points we needed to pass, can you give him some of the points I earned? All along without fail. But Deku, well, it just screams, do your best. I kind of like it. You prioritize others over yourself. During the sports festival, too. Every time, since way back. Deku, you gotta calm down, man. This is. I'm not. No, not gonna say anything like that. You've been saving me every step of the way. This place is his hero academy. Let him stay here. You're my hero, which is why I can't keep taking that strength of yours for granted. Holding a hand can be enough to soothe the pain. Oh man. Oh, Deku's hands are trash now. Man. Himiko, when heroes need protecting, it's my fault she's dead. If only I didn't get stabbed. If only my head wasn't full of pointless thoughts. Because her quirk let her share blood with others, but it didn't have to end like that. I bet I could have found another way. If only I'd figured her out sooner, maybe it would have gone differently if we'd met as little kids. Who will be there to protect them? I get it. The same thing's been weighing on me about Tenko. About Tomura Shigaraki, I mean. I was told that I couldn't tackle that battle the same way as all the others. All for One himself said it, that the path I chose was a thorny one. Even so, I know if we keep going above and beyond, to reach out even when nobody's asking, it'll make a difference. I love the idea of as they pull up here, we see, she really is here. And Deku's practically jumping into Uraraka's arms. Uraraka, we're here for you too. Oh, Chaco, you silly head. I was waiting for you to open up to me. You know you can say whatever's on your mind. And we see that the embers are still there. Hold on. That was a big burst you used to get here. How's the ember doing? It's fine, huh? The ember. Wait, you mean no, hold on. Why didn't you say anything? Oh shit, I just accidentally closed my window. Hold on. Close the window on myself. Let me get back where I was. Man, I completed one for all. That amalgamation of power woven together by courage and heroism. Oh, and we see Phantom Troop has been appreciated. Jiro teaching Eri how to sing. Aoyama channeling his laser through the top of his head, it looks like. Special. Going forward, as long as everyone contributes to the weaving, broadening the scope of the Billboard chart, you say. That's one part of the plan, yeah. But only once the country's on its feet again, of course. It's clear that plenty of folks besides us pro-hero played a huge part or played a huge role in the war. Which is why we should also be giving props to heroes in the original sense of the word, and not just currently employed professional capital H heroes. I thought you might want to lean away from the whole popularity contest altogether. That makes sense if you're only seeing the cons of the system and none of the pros. But I'm talking now about an update that doesn't toss the baby with the bathwater. Okay. Let's see. So yeah, wrapping up their farewell party for Aoyama. I'm guessing Eri is not hitting these notes well based off Bakugo's face, but that they all supported and Shoto as a shockingly wholesome supportive face. We see once again Hawks eating those chicken spears. So yeah, it looks like All Might's just permanently wheelchair bound. Maybe not, but yeah. Because even the greatest of all time can only handle so much. And if we're hoping to save more folks, those saviors got to include more than just us pros. I see, in the hopes of cultivating any number of great heroes. All right. We're back to our villain wobbling the streets. They're seeing people start families. Why? Just me. Why did I suffer? Oh boy. I still wonder whether or not a hero helped that little boy after I walked away. Now and then it keeps me up at night. Oh, Granny. That day, Izuku Midoriya demonstrated to society the need to support each other. He taught us that sitting back and doing nothing isn't an option. I know that what he did hit home with society, and I bet that someday soon you'll be just fine because Granny is here to help. Hey, is all well, you two? Heroes will have time to kill. All right. All right.
Oh shit, I didn't realize I was muted. Hi.
Hold up.
Yes, sir. Fucking hell.
Okay. I'm gonna start with I want to start with Granny here.
Oh
Yeah,
boy, Granny, huh? They're very interesting.
that was the topic of discussion this week.
Yeah, it really was, huh?
Because I understand I think it's important specifically, as weird as it is for other people more than likely, to have somebody older Then All Might specific. Oh, hold on. Oh,
You're fine.
Shoot. I guess while Anaki's doing something, let's just spoil chat. Everyone in the church Discord was upset at this granny helping thing,
Oh,
man.
oh boy.
It was,
That was an interesting conversation because I was
yeah,
like,
man.
like I'm happy that she's learning from her past mistakes, but her type of behavior needs to be demonized. And I got people mad at
They were jumping you,
me.
Thomas.
I
And
mean,
I,
like I said before, I'll say it again. I phrase it wrong, but
but it was
I'm pretty
obvious
sure
what you meant.
yeah, because like I'm pretty sure what Aniki was trying to say is like the fact that someone of her age, right, is the first person Hori is showing to jump to the aid of that young man is a good thing.
yeah.
Honestly, it's very progressive.
So before I went to go do parent thing,
Hmm.
what I was gonna say is that specifically having somebody older than All Might do it shows that it actually is resonating with all of society. Because if you just have a young person do it, right?
Hmm.
Young people doing things differently than older generations doesn't mean that society on a macro level has truly shifted.
Yes.
Um, it means young people are pushing a change forward, but you won't see the real fruits of that for 30 years, assuming that the majority of that generation stays consistent in that ideological shift.
Hmm.
Yeah, because it's harder to convince like the older generation because they're usually more stuck in their ways in certain things.
Hmm.
Whereas
And
it's more open for the newer and current generations to be uplifting of change.
this is also why political discourse is sometimes frustrating because and part of it is that in social media you can see people pivot and respond and do things so much faster, but like governance and politics is a lot slower than social media by I can't even find a word to emphasize the width of margin in which, you can call somebody out on social media for something they did wrong and get an apology after 30 minutes of tweets, and you will never see a law change that fast. Never. So this kind of reflects, though, when something resonates, it can't just be the young people that are like, yeah, you know what? Somebody said it was bad. We're going to stop doing this. Don't, because you've been doing it your whole life. What's good here though is that, and this is the realistic part of it, which is that Granny, instead of just excusing Granny and just having her help, emphasizing that she cared about Tenko afterwards, but obviously had no way of finding him. It's not like she was going to
Yeah.
go searching down for like this child. She
Hmm.
didn't know, and that makes it believable. You have to already have some capacity for kindness in order for like this step to be, because you can go like, oh, like, well, they're just traumatized and just trying to do a little, but no, like, it's very clear that now that the Tenko thing, and she doesn't know, and the fact that she doesn't realize that that little kid became Tomura Shigaraki is actually more important for
Yeah,
her character and like for that like change to
I
matter.
prefer it this way. Yeah.
Because if she had just done it because, oh, that kid I didn't save turned into um Homura, that's just reactionary. That's just oh shit, I made that mistake. We'll make that mistake again. Whereas she knows she made a mistake somewhere, but she doesn't know how directly tied to the current times it is. But what she does know is that she wants to help make sure it doesn't happen and finds ways to make the world better as while she
Yeah.
has time left.
Yeah. Like I think a lot of this granny stuff was like overblown. Like Annika, I actually want to get your opinion on this because me and Thomas were watching the discourse, or we're somewhat in the discourse in the church Discord. But what is your opinion on this? Is more on the granny thing. They're saying that the granny thing doesn't matter of her showing society changed because All for One was still a core part of like Shigaraki's thing. So her being doing this doesn't matter. What's your
That's a
opinion
very
on that?
disingenuous reading. And one of the things that I like to refer to, and if you've ever played like tabletops like D&D and all these other things, this term will be more familiar. You might have even heard me say it on stream recently, is metagaming. And it's
Yes.
really important
Yes.
to not metagame stories. And it's not something that it's like talked about enough, but it's like the best way I can think to portray it, because when a narrative and a character and characters are going on their individual journeys, you will always have, or not always, but you will very often have more information about several key components than other characters. Um, and you like in the story. So you can't say, well, why didn't this person do X when, like, for example, okay, this is a weird example, but Dragon Ball Z, Cell games, Android 18's absorption. We all know that if Akira Toriyama says Cell gets this android, he's going to power up massive levels. There's a good chance that Perfect Cell is going to wipe everybody. But Vegeta was dog walking pre-18 absorption Cell.
Yeah.
So yes, it is a selfish decision for Vegeta to allow Cell to absorb 18. We know that.
Mhm.
And we know that obviously, just from a narrative perspective, he's going to be too powerful for you if he absorbs 18 Vegeta. But that is a metagame take technically, because Vegeta has no reason to believe that the gulf in power that was demonstrated between him and Imperfect Cell was going to not only be like completely patched in, but then he's going to get gulfed the same way. There's no reason to believe that there's going to be that huge of a jump, especially since he had already absorbed 17 at that point. So there's a certain metagame to it, like when we're like, oh, this character made such a dumb decision, that we have to try to remind ourselves that each character, even though they're not real people, the better an author is, the more they're going to try to make them make decisions like real people. And it is sometimes helpful to treat them as such when looking at how they're handling and keep track of what information they do or don't have. So you can say, like, oh, well, All for One was behind all this shit and he ruined Tomura's life. Granny did not know that. So
Exactly.
Granny's
Exactly.
decision is based off her seeing a child that she left behind at some point, did not save, and realizing she had an opportunity to be somebody's hero, and trying to make sure that it going forward, if she sees somebody like this child she found, that she's going to be there. Hence the bold printed Granny is here.
That's essentially because Tyler even said it in the chat, and that's essentially what I said. It's like, sure, Alpha One could have killed the grandmother, but the fact that like if she actually wasn't scared off by Tenko and took that necessary step forward to help that child, even if down the line Tenko would have been grabbed by Alpha One eventually, and obviously Alpha One would have killed everyone involved, she still made the right decision. She still stepped forward and helped a young child.
Exactly.
Like it doesn't matter if Alpha One had a hand in it. Like her complacency added to Shigaraki's despair.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And if we're honest, we could look at it as like, let's say Alpha One does something to screw over Granny, and then Tenko ends up homeless again, and then another person finds him. If like 3 or 4 people find him and they try to help him, he's not going to lash out in the same
Yes,
way. He's gonna see, like, he might see quirks as a curse, and he may look to like cure them if all of them die to decay, but it's not likely that he's gonna sit there and take on the same ideology that he did and getting no help but from a supervillain.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it's also like if she did step up to help Tenko, I don't think she would have like taken him to her home. She probably would have taken him to like police station or a hero
Yeah.
agency. So it's like even if All for One when it was her specifically that snagged Tenko,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I really don't think she would have been on his radar.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because that's the whole thing, is they're saying that, well, All for One could have killed her, so her doing this is pointless.
Yeah,
I'm
like
like
it didn't
that. It
matter.
does. It doesn't matter. She doesn't know, so her actions are literally unaffected by All for One.
Exactly.
And that's anytime you're looking at character arcs, you cannot metagame because if you metagame, you set yourself up for disappointment. Like Bakugo's guilt over the elimination of All Might, even if we know that All Might was technically like at the start of the series
On borrowed time.
losing his ability to fight, even while holding One for All, he was losing his ability to fight. So Bakugo, even after he puts it together that All Might passed his power on to him, the thing that I think a lot of people have to remember is that Bakugo likely put it together then that, like, oh, he probably gave that to Deku somewhere in his mind, somewhere around the time of the Sludge villain, which means that me getting caught by the Sludge villain plus getting caught by the League of Villains led to multiple instances of
Yeah.
All Might being injured or losing power. This is my fault. I've been screwing All Might over for years or over a year. I've caused All Might problems.
I don't know which mangaka said this, but they had an interview where they talked about like how they don't like making like you said, metagame decisions. They like letting the world that they're writing write itself, right? Like characters are in character, they do their own decisions because it makes sense for these characters to do these decisions. Like it's easy to have hindsight, right? And go, well, that's a bad decision because you actually could have done this, you could have done that. But most of the time, 90% of the time, it's usually just you didn't do like what I wanted you to do. And you now doing this, like I know now that this character could have interfered or this character could have interfered. Like that does not matter. That's a piss poor way about approaching this. I
Ooh,
still don't like
ooh,
I still don't like
ooh.
the entire conversation around this because all for once hand on Tenko does not matter with the grandmother. Like it's still
Yes.
a silly conversation.
I
So
think that a
what's
lot of people are forgetting that a lot of characters aren't supposed to know a lot of the shit we're supposed to know, man.
What, we talking about Granny?
Yes.
Yeah.
okay? So yeah, fun fact: when I chose to talk about Granny, I was like, this will be like the simplest part, but it's a cool part to talk about at the as we before we dive into the Deku and all that other stuff. And then you guys said this was one of the most controversial parts of the chapter, and I'm like,
Yeah.
huh. But
Yeah, I mean, like I had a bunch of stuff muted, but apparently in Coyote shared a link in the Discord, but I guess the Rikusu
Yeah.
left out some context to the chapter, and that angered a lot of people.
A lot of context was changed up and a lot of
Oh,
stuff was
oh.
different than what we normally got.
Well,
Like
I think what you have to remember about leakers is like
Grifters.
it's literally first look. They're translating it as fast as they can. Like there have been errors in and out. Like I remember for chapter 424 when Bakugo comes in, like originally Rikasa translated it as like, oh, one for all is still there, when really it was just the embers that were still there. However, that's interesting getting to this chapter because there are a couple hints about what's going to happen to Deku's quirk, and I think if we go this route, it leaves us for like one last surprise for the final chapter. So yeah, but anyway, this chapter, man, ooh, I had to tune in for this one. God, like he's really been building this up for a long time, and when it happens, it's like, I mean, okay, is it like, I mean, given the context, given the situation, is it like 100% without a doubt confirmed that that they've gotten together? No. Are we like really dang close to it and kind of got something just as good? I'd argue, yeah, because when people talk about who their heroes are in this series, you have to pay attention to context, you have to pay attention to what they say, you have to pay attention to how they act. When Deku tells Ochako that she's his hero, it is very intimate, and like the way he kind of grabs her hand and is like, did you know that grabbing someone's hand can set their heart at ease? And normally it was kind of like there's normally what I call like the kind of platonic friendship hand grab between people or or whatever. With them, he kind of he holds her hand like kind of sideways in a way that's very different and very gentle. And it's like, I mean, those are just the details that were cool to me. And also, and like page 2, you see this stack of boxes being shipped, literally shipped.
Yeah,
And
green tea.
yeah, exactly. So for those of you not in the know, green tea is the ship name for Izuocha in
Midori.
Japanese because of the kanji in their name. Uh, Deku, Midoriya, like Mido is green, and for Uraraka, or I believe it's Ochako, it's cha. That's the tea part.
Yeah,
So
Yes.
Ocha is
Midori
green
cha.
tea.
so it's literally like Mido cha.
Yeah.
That's like a very, very sly, subtle slash not very subtle wink at the audience. Like, don't worry, this is happening, going through. So, yeah. I'm also curious about last chapter because,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is going to be a short final volume if he kind of leaves it as is. And I'm like, is he leaving the extra stuff for the final volume? Because right now, he has, I think, roughly 130-ish pages total, like when you, or is it 140? I think 140 pages if you include a normal length last chapter. And that's like, that would be like 2/3 of a final volume of a regular volume. And I'm like, is it going to be shorter? Is he adding more? I don't know. So I feel like he's going to add more stuff, but can't be sure. So we shall see.
I know I find myself hoping that it's a longer final chapter. Just it would be nice. Just
I don't really see that.
I don't know. I'm not expecting it, but it'd be nice if it is.
I know we
Yeah,
were
it would
kind
be
of
nice.
talking about Ricky
Also,
earlier, but they said that we're possibly there's no news on a elongated final chapter, but obviously like things can change,
Yeah.
new information can pop up. So
So there's
I
absolutely nothing so far.
No,
yeah,
nothing.
telling us there is, but then
I think
again,
a color page next week,
yeah,
maybe.
we have a color page next week. But like obviously they said that when the leaks came out on Wednesday, so information
All
can
right.
pop up.
So you're telling me those are still 2 Shonen Jump magazines I have to order from Japan and ship over.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh
We gotta
so
man.
have both.
for both, there's one other thing that I wanted to add in here, which is the finish, the finishing, like the final page. Oh yeah,
Ah.
those green tea boxes, hilarious. When they say heroes will have time to kill, it's hey, it's all well, you two. Like, and then that like smile that they shared together. It's worth noting. Like, when have we seen Deku smile since the arc finished?
It was their first genuine smile.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
yeah,
his smiles post POW have been like when they happen, they're rare. Not only that, they're very uneasy or nervous. Right? Like he smiles right before he's about to face down with Shigaraki for the last time. But that's because like the literal fate of the world is in his hands. He's like, if I don't stop this, we're freaking done for. That was like a very genuine, very open smile. And like the fact that it focuses on the two of them together too is like very specific. It's like because they had that shared conflict, with their villains, like they were trying to save them, but and they did to the degree that they could do best, not all the way. So when Ida's like, is everything okay? And they smile, it's like, well, we're moving towards that bright future. And also, I mentioned this before, but One for All seems tied to the state of society. And
Mhm.
like they talk about how it had grown past just an all for one killing power. Like it was still going to fulfill that purpose. But when Deku speaks about completing it and how it's everybody's efforts weaving together, and you see the Ember still there, that's 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 intentional. Like because I think like kind of like on a meta narrative level, that kind of is guaranteeing Deku's going to keep being a hero because it's like if everybody's efforts keep paying off, then that's going to keep going. And I think One for All is going to blossom into that new quirk because the mood isn't sour anymore.
Yeah,
And it's
this is
like
the happiest chapter we've gotten for
it's
like months.
Since before POW, arguably.
Oh, super chat.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, super chat.
Woo!
Oh, snap! Nader's back. This class is not going to leave each other's sides. The way they react to Ochako in the panel with them worried about Deku's embers, they are so codependent on each other. I agree
They're
that
fives.
no, like class 1A opening a hero agency as like a collective in the future does not
Like
in the
on Nabu
least
Island.
seem unlikely to me.
I can
That
see
would
Like
be
it
it,
being
cool.
like Heroes Rising, where they have like
yeah,
it on Nabu Island. That'd be pretty cute.
That'd be cool. Like I mean, I think it would also I also I also really love Hawks' approach to the Billboard charts because
Oh, that was also
he
another controversy
Oh
as
yeah,
well.
that was.
dude, like he addressed like my issues with just like doing away with the billboards. It's like people tend to focus only on the negatives about different parts of the hero system.
Facts.
Exactly. And so like what Hawks was saying is like, well, it's not a bad idea in concept, and it has merit to inspire people to do better. It's just when you got to things like Endeavor, where it was like limiting it to heroes is kind of what made it like a popularity contest and contingent about, glory, wealth, fame, all of that.
Yeah.
So broadening the scope of it, that makes it like that makes it to where it's just like, no, everybody is now doing their best because it's not really tied to money or anything. It's just what have you done to contribute to society, you know?
and I think there's a lot of potential with that because imagine for a second, we get a flash forward and we see a hero billboard chart just as
Or
an example, and
Sukuichi.
you got like in third place is the local congressman or member of parliament or whatever you want to call it for Japan. In fourth place, you got a doctor. Fifth place, you have a hero, like stuff like that, where it's like, no, this person has done like multiple life-saving surgeries. They've been like a real hero, like keeping people
Yeah.
alive, doing so the idea of not only prioritize like putting heroes on there, but people who are everyday heroes, doctors,
Yeah.
professionals, maybe like teachers even who are at good schools or bad schools and that are like turning schools around. That kind of
Yeah.
stuff could be
When you highlight celebrities, when you highlight people of power, um, it leads to like Hero Society always had like this it had a great like Hori really tackled parasocial relationships really well in this series. And the Billboard chart was a great example of it, but like highlighting the every day man, right? Highlighting like John down the road could be number one week. It's a great approach, and I've seen a lot of people complain, especially in Discord, about how like if you don't tackle it and get rid of it, you're going to lead to another endeavor. And I'm sitting here like, but that's not what Hawks is leading to. Like that's
Yeah.
the opposite of like what Hawks wants to tackle. The same with All Might.
Yeah. I'd also argue that I'm not gonna lie, I have like hundreds of heroes, only one of them being like an endeavor is not that bad for the system. I'm gonna be honest.
More so like it's not the hero, it's the like what they get down in their personal life because of the chart, right?
Yeah. But also back to acknowledging like civilians and other stuff. I think that's generally because a lot of people don't think that matters, especially in the Discord. It literally is cool because that means like people like Sukuichi can literally get recognized for their work.
Yes.
Like Sukuichi deadass did a lot of shit for this war, and he's just been out in the shadows, just
Uchi
not
has done a lot for
recognized.
Japan just by being
Exactly.
All Might's like best buddy. Like,
Exactly, man.
so there's a lot because one of the things that this also creates a pivot for in society is think back to the first chapter. I went over your career aptitude test, but we all know what you want to be. Heroes. Like no other profession was valued culturally.
Yes.
And so it's like a lot of the people who were doing other jobs, even when you look at it, they were settling. Bakugo's dad is a fashion designer who settled because his quirk wasn't reliable enough. But he wanted to be a hero. And like think about the people who have quirks that you're like, that's a quirk, I guess. Yeah.
Thank God I wasn't born with that one.
Like, okay, Yoshindo, right? His quirk makes sense. His girlfriend, why are you here?
Oh my god, Gothic is one of the worst fucking quirks in the series. And I honestly don't understand what use you maybe you can squish support items into your body, but it's so weird. I don't know. It doesn't
I mean,
fit.
She could
Wait.
get into small spaces and save people that like try to like help them from the other side.
She
I
ain't helping
guess.
nobody.
Like,
She's
why
gonna be
are you
late.
here?
She's wobbling over.
Fucking
So
Lego man hero,
I mean,
man.
the best example is Shinzo, right? Like Shinzo is like he had the perfect quirk for being a hero. He was looked down upon, and he was put into the wrong class.
Yeah, and that's just based off like not being able to beat robots, man.
there's just so many where it's like, bro, what? Like at least like as much as like Manual is like joked on in the series and like
Manual
joked on.
Manual sweep. Like he has done so much
Also,
good
his
work.
quirk really isn't that bad. It is just that his quirk looks lame in comparison to, I don't know, jet engine legs or explosion, a quirk that was stated from the beginning of the series to be able to do basically everything. Like,
Yeah, it's
it,
like a mid-tier quirk, but we're in a series that shows off the high tiers 24/7. Because I not gonna lie, being able to control water and move it around is genuinely pretty fucking good.
yeah,
Especially if you're always near an ocean or just anywhere that requires like fire
man,
controls.
come to the Midwest. You'll be one of the best heroes here. We got, come to Wisconsin specifically. We got rivers and lakes all over.
I'm
Bro,
being
you'll be
honest,
popping
like
off.
if it wasn't for Manuel, we could have lost boat wars really quickly.
Yeah.
Yup.
Manual saved this shit.
Like Manuel was a big help. And we always talk about Monoma, right? We always talk about Shinzo because of their cooperation. They were amazing. They were pivotal. But Manuel also deserves highlight. Even the old woman in this chapter deserves a highlight for what she did. Like this kid could have caused an incident, but she stepped forward and checked on it and said, "I am here. Like Grammar is here to help you." And she saved him. And like this new approach to the billboard, I love it. I think it's one of the best decisions Hori has like implemented.
It's really cool because like I mean the main kind of motto of the series is I mean there is the whole plus ultra thing and that's true, but like more so when you get to the meaning behind it, it's do your best. It's do your best. So this system is going to ensure that people be like, I want to be higher up there. I want to do better. Like it's not like the system was working as a way to like get people more money and stuff. This is not the same. It's just about your services to society. So that's what's changing. And also like I mean, you see Deku's impact too is like him fighting Shigaraki, him doing his best and whatnot. Like that's inspired everybody to do so as well. So it's like I think kind of the more superficial stuff like fangirls and whatnot, like would it be kind of funny and cute to see them mob him or whatever? Sure. But at the same time, like Deku absolutely had the biggest impact out of all of the students. Like
That's true.
they
That's
keep
true.
specifying like he showed people like Hawks,
Oh,
Nagon, like they were all like Deku showed people something, right? Like he had the president of the United States rescind his order to not send forces over. He saw him fighting, is like, screw that, we're gonna help him anyway. Like that's huge, man. That's huge.
so like everybody, I will first say hello. Hello, everybody.
What's
Hello.
good,
Hey.
Michael? We love you, Ponzi. Welcome to the stream, bro.
We love you, Coyote, too, man. We love you,
Yes,
too.
sir. Yes, sir.
Hey,
So
Padre.
yeah, hey. I'm right now in my drawing session, so I have a few minutes before I will leave you. I
Oh
got to
yeah.
say
Get that art up.
this was one of the best chapters of the whole series. Nothing to say at all. Midarabi being what he is, a hero, and acknowledging who is his hero for him. I love every page in this chapter. It was beautiful reading, beautiful drawn. But man, just seeing the grandma back, the grandma doing the right choice this time. Got to say, I was thinking to myself, no, I was thinking that this chapter would have led to a new Shigaraki. You know what I mean? Because it's true, literally, that humans stay humans. Most of the time, we will make the same mistakes. And when I saw the grandma, I was expecting that she would have said, "Yeah, there will be a hero next. He will come to help you." And this not happen didn't happen because Midoriya did his job. Not being trying to be the light, trying to be the hero for everybody, but making everybody heroes for themselves, trying to sell themselves and serve people next to you, like Jesus. Man, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. Granny is here. This one, it was perfect. So yeah, nothing to say about the chapter. I can't wait to be there next week. I might come late because it will be. I have to go to the church next week, but I will try to
All
find a
good,
spot
man.
just to pop up. But yeah, guys, really love this chapter. Literally, 10 on
Hell
10.
yeah.
Horikoshi is doing something that many series of back in the day, the old gen, the big three didn't. The big three. Maybe One Piece might not will do something different. It had the best conclusion, the best epilogue for a story, and right now just he's giving the space, the room to write a beautiful end. So can't wait to see you for the finale to next week. Bye everybody. Take care of you, okay?
See you,
Of
Ponzi.
course.
Have a good week.
Bye.
See ya.
See you.
Bye-bye. Stay safe.
Ah,
Man, just seeing, I'm gonna be honest, like, I don't go into shonen for the romance, right? It's always like a nice touch, right?
well,
It's like the cherry on
action
top, right?
shonen.
Um, oh, for sure, for sure. I have to, yeah, I clarify action shonen. Like I don't go into Jujutsu Kaisen being like, oh, who's Yuji's love interest? Um, but I've always like adored Deku and Uraraka's relationship. It's like one of like ever since Edward and Winry, I was kind of like looking for that next one. Also, Noel never really
Yeah.
filled it for me, but I do adore them. However,
Like, I
this
mean-
chapter makes me happy. Seeing Deku like float because of Uraraka is just so cute. It's like a little minute detail.
Winry was like, I
Adorable.
mean, it's a different dynamic, but it also kind of has the same feeling of like these two are just made for each other.
Yes.
Like, I mean, Winry was a tsundere with Edward and everything. Edward was kind of a
Mhm.
tsundere with her though, too. So like it was those matching personalities Uh, it's the same thing here. Like they're two absolute sweethearts, so they're sweet on each other. You
Yeah,
know?
I was gonna say I don't even know if calling Ed and Winry Tsundere is exactly what I would call them though. Like to me, they came off more like looking back on it, that's like the most teenager thing about Ed is his inability to properly deal with Winry. Because
He
he's
is
supposed to be like 15, 16. Like he's not supposed to be like a 20-year-old man.
he is an absolute brat. Like they keep highlighting that. Like he's super arrogant. He's full of himself. He thinks he knows better all the time. But
And
like
so
he learns throughout the series.
whereas like sometimes there's a true blue tsundere trope, with them I think they were more like teenagers that didn't, and like Ed didn't really have the space for that, right? Like you try to, your mom dies, you try to resurrect her, you lose limbs, you sacrifice another one for your brother to put a soul on a piece of armor. You got a lot going on, you know, just a little busy. So being able to properly deal with romantic feelings isn't exactly in the wheelhouse of spicy minded or overly seasoned minds at the age of 16, we'll say.
Wait,
You
wait,
mean
wait, wait. Alves, hang on. Now, don't you say that, because I love Ichihime. I love them. I
No,
adore them.
he doesn't.
Hey, relax, relax. I adore them. I love them. I'll always defend them, and I'll always defend Orihime. I just mean like the shonen that are currently running, because Bleach, it has the hell arc, but like their budding romance arc ended, so I'm not counting them. Um, but Izuocha always had a special place in my heart, and seeing their little talk to each other, seeing them break down, um, it it soothed my soul. It was cute. And seeing Deku calling her his hero, like my hero, that was, yeah, that was the cherry on top.
I think, and I think that even if we're not going to say they're fully dating right now, just because they very clearly established to each other that they have a special relationship
Mhm.
and what that means going forward for them is whatever Horikoshi ultimately decides it means. But all I'm saying is if we get My Hero the Last, I'm not complaining.
I ain't complaining too.
I'm a
Although I'm
Naruto the
not,
Last enjoyer.
even if we didn't get like the confession in this chapter, I'm still satisfied with what we got. Like this was satisfying. And of course, we could add on to it in the final chapter, or we can just skip forward because the last panel definitely looks like the end of this time period for my hero. Kind of a flash forward. However, if we don't, I don't mind either way. I'm pretty
I
satisfied.
mean it's just I can't get my mind off how the Ember is kind of presented. Like it's just
It doesn't
like
look
it's kind of a
bleak.
lingering question now because we've more or less
Yes.
gotten what we need to on his wheelchair. We're probably gonna get like I don't know if like that straightforward confession scene is gonna happen. This was effectively it, right? This was effectively served that purpose. I think you're gonna see them on like the date or whatnot. You're gonna see something that like definitively confirms they're together. But aside from that, kind of the lingering question is what Deku's status as a hero is going to be. Is like, is he gonna be forced to retire or is he going to be able to keep going? And even though the class are worried about the Ember, the way it's framed, how they cut and how they transition, it's like that feels like there's a one last surprise pertaining to that.
They look so happy in that panel when they're like the Ember. Wait, you mean? No, hold on. Wait, why didn't you say anything? And everybody's like freaking out excited, and you see like Deku smiling. And then we like the last page with them in it is them in hero costumes. So it's like they're
I'm being
excited
honest.
about the Ember. It seems like it's good news. He's in his hero costume.
Like I didn't see the panel with like, Todoroki, Ida, Mina, Mineta as like they're happy about it. Like they looked worried, but it's kind of like a like this is information we should have gotten earlier, like I'm glad that you still have a quirk, but like an Ember, But I am positive like this is like a good sign for the future. I've also been kind of like because for the longest time, obviously, we knew that Deku's quirk, one for all, is power stockpiling. Like it stockpiles power throughout the generations. But it's kind of like with Aries quirk, where it's like, like what's the fullest extent of like what it stockpiles? Because we know it stockpiles quirks, and we know it stockpiles strength.
It stockpiles
But
wishes, bro.
yeah, it wishes. I also like to believe that it stockpiles hope and determination, like it powerful emotions.
Because
So
okay,
the hope for the future would be a way to cause this ember to flourish
let's talk
and
about this for a
grow.
second. Because One for All is a quirk that is specifically connected to the Vestige realm. The Vestige
Yes,
realm seems to be accessible or existent, or a layer of consciousness that exists beyond the material world that anybody with a quirk that is able to interact with other quirks is capable of accessing. But it means that like that network fundamentally exists within all quirks.
yeah,
Um, just
hmm
not all quirks allow you to bridge that barrier.
yeah,
But when we look at how the future has changed, the two times they mentioned the network, the connection, uh, that wishing allowed for.
yeah, the wishing energy.
And now I know that if I were somebody who wanted to critique this, I would say there's not really an established precedent or a reason for why Deku should be able to stockpile more than just power. Um, why would that be permissible? Why would that even make sense? And to that, I would say every quirk got stronger while sitting inside of one quirk.
Yes,
The second user's quirk became so powerful, it allowed for complete manipulation of the laws of physics as
it
far as the
completely
inertia.
changed.
Like, in turn, whatever change or power or influence happens to the stockpiling quirk has to be more drastic than the change that occurred within the second user's quirk. Because that's the rule established. Like
Mhm.
float seemed a bit more, seemed like it was like barely touched, but it was like, last quirk.
It was like
Then
pop
there,
steps, basically.
Black Whip seemed far enhanced based on what we saw like Daigoro using it. Danger Sense, I don't know how good it was supposed to have been back then, but Fajin very clearly was up there, and the change that the second user's quirk went through was extremely significant. So the idea of the first quirk of stockpiling, being able to stockpile more than just what people want, or like more than just power, but instead also kind of gathering energy along the entire vestige realm way, which means that hopes, those wishes, all that other stuff being pulled towards it, possibly the ambition that people have makes sense. If we have one slight reality warping quirk, and then this one becomes the ultimate reality warper in the sense that what people wish or the ambition of the world infiltrates and interacts with the quirk, that makes sense because One for All goes from being a power that is to stop all for one to a power that is there to grant the dreams of society and make it a better place.
Mhm.
It becomes a quirk that it isn't about killing, like initially people thought it like perceived it as, and instead it becomes a quirk that is truly about saving and
Yes.
protecting,
hmm
which is what Deku said he wanted to make the quirk.
I agree. I guess that's also I agree wholeheartedly. That's why I like the idea that like one for all isn't just standard with just stockpile strike. It stockpiles hope, like a hope for a better future. Like every member of one for all were stockpiling energy for the hopes of taking down all for one to better society because getting rid of him would have freed society from its shackles. I also want to comment on the chat because I saw Cameron Bailey talking about
Toga?
um not Toga, but Okay, so I'll read what he said. So I'm sorry, but I hate this chapter because why did 1A have to come in again? Why can't we have Midoriya's introspection or Ochiko breaking down like Bakugo? And I do want to comment on the first one first, because obviously break down each
Yeah,
one.
we'll do Toga
I
after
agree.
this.
I agree that like I would have preferred if we got 1A a bit, because obviously like in order to have that, the chapter would have to be longer than 15 pages, which is a great thing. However, Hori was set for 15 pages, so I'm not mad at 1A coming in. I just wanted to see a bit more. However, I'm not like furious, right? I'm not like, Horikoshi, what the fuck are you doing? Because it's still added to the chapter.
Yeah, I'll
yeah.
say about 1A is I expected them to come in because that's what they've always done. So he's done a precedent of them always coming in. Whether that's a good or bad thing, I always expected them to
Yeah.
come in.
And also
But
Deku being the only one who like arrived when they all were worried, like they were gonna come eventually.
yeah, that's the thing is I think 1A coming in, whether you like it or not, that's always going to be subjective. And I think there's no wrong take on whether or not you like it or hate it. And it's just one of those things where this is just the story of Horikoshi set up, where 1A are always so intertwined with each other that they have to like be there to help each other stand up and rise. Also,
Yes.
super chat from Andrew.
Yes, make sure to like the super chats as well, because YouTube gave that feature.
Yeah, I'll fucking read the super chat from Mr. Andrew $5.
Hold up.
Oh,
I was just reading it to see if okay, this isn't one for the voice. I think leaving stuff open has been the biggest problem as it led to fan headcanon to outnumber story canon. But I guess that interview shows he wants that. I don't think it okay.
Did
So
you read the interview, the rest of that interview, Kaneki?
I did not, I do a lot of other stuff in my free time now. I should really do more. I'm probably gonna read it all once I do a reread of the series too.
bet.
But I don't think it's fully bad to like let your fans have some speculation, some thoughts, something to chew on. Because speculation is part of the joy of fandom. But the problem comes when things that are heavily supposed to be like, oh, you can like speculate on like what kind of stuff here, like thinking about how many like million. Hey, leave that alone.
I'll talk about open speculation while he's gone. I think open speculation is actually a good and bad thing. Let's use Five Nights at Freddy's for the open speculation. That series foundation is built on open speculation, and that solely alone is what kept the franchise alive, and what still keeps it alive is fans being able to speculate off of new evidence, new stuff, and that alone, if we put that to My Hero, oh, this is open ended. What can we talk about here and speculate and talk about what can possibly go on? Yada yada yada. I think that's good for My Hero, but at the same time, I do think there should be some close ended things like who Deku does end up with. I think that should be closed ended, but it being open ended doesn't really matter to me. But I think that's both a good and bad thing.
So I was gonna ask, because I don't know if Andrew is talking about a specific section of the interview, but I'll read out like the section I think he's referring to. So the interviewer asks Horikoshi, are there any characters or stories you want to explore more but didn't get the chance to? And Horikoshi said, it's not quite about not getting the chance, but I have characters and backstories that I created but didn't include in the story. For instance, I have detailed stories for the previous inheritors of One for All. I intentionally left these out. I know it's a little off what the question was asking. So the interviewer asks, do you want to draw those backstories at some point? And Horikoshi says, no, not at all. Rather than drawing out all of these well executed backgrounds and episodes, I want to hint at these elements instead. For instance, in Terminator 2, John Connor becomes a leader in the future. And why is the page? Yeah, but there aren't many depictions of the future itself, because the future isn't depicted in detail, the viewer's imaginations expand. And I thought that was really great. So I really wanted to create something like Terminator 2. I might have strayed a bit from the original question though. I love Hori's little tidbit there.
Yeah.
I do appreciate that about some series where it does give you like Coyote said, like the fan base has so much meat to chew on after My Hero ends that like so many people can like think of and make even like fanfics of like characters being heroes in the future. And then there's some elements that are, not filled in and they could take that. Like it's fun. It adds to being a fan of the series. But I do think there are certain topics, certain questions that you shouldn't leave open-ended, because it feels like, for example, if Chisaki wasn't touched upon um, in last chapter, right, I would have felt like kind of cheated out of it, right?
Yeah.
Because I want to see where Chisaki's story went, right? Like, sure, I can kind of guess that, like, oh, he met the boss and the boss scolded him, but that just comes down to my own personal headcanon. Like, that's important. That's an important topic to touch upon. But if he didn't want to touch upon N's backstory, that's fine. Because I have bits and pieces of N that can like piece together and go, oh, this like N obviously, successor to Banjo. No, was yeah, successor to Banjo. They were close. They're little gag together. Not gag, but like their dynamic is cute. Um, I don't need to know anything about him. For certain stuff, I do need to know. Like Deku's quirk, we have to know next chapter. And where is he going? What's his
Yeah.
hero life gonna be from here on out? That is something we need to know.
Yeah. Giorno, since you're here, what's your take on that?
I mean, I was gonna say I mostly agree with you guys because when it comes to One for All users, I feel like that stuff in that interview that would be perfect, like spin-off, light novel material, post series. We have enough of their backstories. But yeah, we something like Deku's future is absolutely important to find out next chapter.
Hell fucking yeah.
Yeah, the interviewer said, while there are characters you shot up but didn't draw, there's nothing you feel like you missed. And Hori said, exactly. So yeah, obviously, like he probably isn't going to draw it himself, but there is room for that in the future with spinoffs. Obviously, Yoko Akiyama is someone Hori praises so highly. The artist of Team Up Missions. So, and obviously Akiyama does like the spin-offs, not spin-offs, but like the one shots for the movies.
There
I
are
mean, that
there are
one
a lot of
recently,
there are a lot of announcements coming next week, right?
yes, I'm
Okay.
pretty sure. Also, it's the last
I'm
chapter. I would
expecting
expect it.
I'm expecting two things mainly. I'm expecting news on the MHA live action adaptation. I'm also expecting a new video game because it's been a while. Kind of feels like the right time to do it,
I
especially
don't
with
know
like
because the people who own the My Hero video games, they're the same people that own JJK. So at the same time, it could be like they just
well,
focused all their time on JJK.
I
So we're
mean,
not gonna get it
it's
soon.
the rights to the games are like it's Bandai, like they kind of get like a first look, and they kind of have been shuffling off to King for as long as
A
we
lot
can.
of the anime, yeah.
Yeah, but they have also reached out to other developers as well. So
We
I
also have
think
another super chat as well.
I think also like with MHA and Endgame, that means you play with Endgame level powers. So you get fully powered Deku, access to all of his arsenal. You get
Yep.
Shigaraki
Explosion,
all
full
for one.
college.
Mhm.
You get Rewind all for one. You get Armored All Might. You get Cluster Bomb Bakugo. You get
Yeah.
Ochako with a freaking float AoE. Like there's a lot of things to play with now.
Boss for Shoto, like
Yeah.
Yep.
you could do a
The
lot.
thing about getting to an end game thing for an anime is most anime games don't really start at the end. So if it was a new developer coming in from a new series, it would most likely start from the beginning up to season 3 again. Just
I'd
for the
also
sole fact
dig
that they rebuild off the beginning.
I'd also dig a proper like storm type of retelling, you know?
Yeah.
That'd be great. But I mean, we're getting the Bleach game, and obviously
Yes, sir, Giorno,
that's a
your
whole
game.
thing. But like, we're not getting
Man,
Tatsuya Blood War in the main story, so
don't
we're probably
remind
getting
me.
that DLC. So that's
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah,
hi.
yeah, we
We
hear
can
you.
hear you. Also, another super chat from Mr. Andrew.
Yes,
I was
sir,
gonna read
MG.
it. I was just trying to make sure my mic was going through.
Yeah, we can hear.
Okay. So I think leaving stuff open has been wait, hold on. That's not what I wanted. I have no problem with the speculation in series like One Piece, but in MHA, at least the problems between fans that doesn't happen in other series.
But it
That's
also happens in One
because
Piece too.
so the problem with My Hero, as far as like the debate stuff goes, is people don't like to acknowledge stuff as their headcanon. They speak too factually.
Oh,
Yes.
dude, I made a tweet like, I'm kind of worried that people think Ochako was genuinely in love with the serial killer, and people flipped
Yeah,
out.
I saw that and I was like, but Volk's right. They met like 3 times. She's objectively a serial killer. We actually talked about it, I think, last week a bit, where I was like, no, there's a limited amount of interactions, and she's objectively a serial killer. That is a core part of who Toga is. It's not the part that is emphasized though, because she's one of the people that we're looking at for more empathy. And if we had overemphasized her killing people, people would not have had the appropriate reaction to her
Yeah.
story and her journey. Um, so yeah, and with My Hero speculation, the problem is that people speculate on things with very little substantiation, or you have to purposely misconstrue and ignore like the genre you're reading in order to come to the conclusions you come to. And that's never a good thing. Like you don't want to be like, well, if this were a shoujo romance, but is it a shoujo romance? No. Okay, go read a shoujo romance. If you want shoujo romance, that's not what's gonna happen. And like so, like we said earlier, we don't expect full-blown romance in this action series. We're just not gonna get that.
Yeah.
It's not the main point of the story. And there's things that Horikoshi made it a very poignant, like made it a point. Toga is dead. Twice is dead. Shigaraki dead. Spinner's alive. Dabi is going to die slowly but surely, but he'll get to talk to his family a few times, and that'll give them all the proper closure because instead of it just ending with their family and dying and their family being broken entirely.
It's one of those things where like it's fine to have like if you want a certain thing to happen in a series and you think it's going to happen, it's fine to look out for that. However, you have to be more open-minded and realize that okay, in the future, when when Hori gets to the end and what I want isn't given, I shouldn't lash out because it's like how are you like shooting for the stars when it doesn't feel consistent with the story, right? Um, and I don't care if people like want to Uraraka and Toga to get together, right? That's fine. Um,
Yeah.
however, I see a lot of
He's dead.
yeah, I see a lot of people
You can
going
date
a
a
bit
grave.
too far to bring the tombstone everywhere. Uh, I see a lot of people get like vent their frustration and want a Hori in a grave, and it is very bizarre. And um, there are also obviously we've seen the phrase like Yuri baiting before, um, and I've never really got the like the sense like I never really got that. Maybe I'm just missing something, but the relationship
So
between Toga and Uraraka never
yeah,
like
it was never
entered
gonna
that
take that
shipping
direction.
genre, right? Yeah.
It
No,
I
no.
feel I
Yeah.
feel like it was just that one panel that
yeah.
you're the cutest, you have the cutest smile.
Yeah, I think that's what fueled it, right?
The only thing that was funny about that to me is that I like saw somebody online be like, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't tell somebody I was platonic friends with if they had the cutest smile. And I was like, I've had a lot of women friends tell other women friends while being completely straight women that they have the cutest X, Y, or Z. So
That's like
I was like,
just
that's
a
so girly.
compliment.
I was like, that's girly pop friendship right there. Like I see it all the time. Like what are you saying? Like I grew up with like don't get me wrong. I don't believe half the compliments women give other women because I've seen a woman look at like okay, I've seen like girls talk about how a girl is so cute, do 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 do, and then be like, that bitch fat and ugly. And I don't know why he's wearing that top. And it's like, damn, I don't know what just happened. And she's like, oh yeah, I'm mad at her this week. And it's like, oh, well, I don't know which one's her real feelings. So
I don't get the whole like, oh, that makes no sense to call like, oh, your girlfriend, right? Like they have a cute smile, or your friend that's a guy, when you're a guy, a cute smile. Like I'm looking at Joseph P right now. That's a good smile.
like,
It's weird. I just don't get where people are going with their critiques. And we're getting another MHA Requiem type rewrite from the fans, which
man,
is
I saw
fun.
somebody post that shit and I was like, ain't gonna be nothing but downgrades in y'all writing,
Yeah,
trust me.
probably literally.
I mean, every series goes through that.
Endeavor's going to
It's
die
weird.
without any repercussions.
Every story that I like see, like people are like, damn, I want to rewrite this. I like start like if I try to give it a chance, and I can always tell that what they decided to write is one almost always in contradiction with the pre-established character,
Yeah.
and I end up grateful that it didn't go the direction that they tried to take it. And that's pretty much always the case. I
Yeah.
don't think I've ever stumbled on a rewrite where I was like, wow, this headcanon is so much better. The only time, actually, I think that like for a character arcs, when I see like people do something like extra cool for a fight, or like what if like that, people have done better fights than the creators of their shows. They almost never do better character writing than the creators.
Yeah.
No, I
Yeah,
I
like
remember
am
it,
when
so
someone on
glad that
Twitter.
Horikoshi is writing MHA and not Twitter.
and not the fans. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right?
I
Good
remember
morning,
on
everyone.
Twitter one time there was like someone did a rewrite of Dark Hero and like literally
Yeah.
everyone hated it.
Joini, man.
Yeah. So much that changed identity. But still, that was, I think, one of the. I don't think I've seen the fandom so united on a topic until that rewrite. And like I've seen like a lot of people have good intentions with quote unquote rewriting, right? Maybe they want to approach an arc a different way, but also want to be polite, right? Not in a way where it's like, oh, I'm going into this because it fucking sucked and I want to change it. Like I know better. Like I'm gonna take Hori's pen away. That's where I'm like, you do you, go for it. But when you have malicious intent,
Yeah.
like
It's
that's
the
where I'm
bad
like,
faith that really
relax.
kills it.
Exactly.
I think a lot of ego is what really ruins a lot of fan stories off the rip, because a lot of people go off the side. I can make a story way better based off of like their own preferences. Where
It be
if
dumpster
it
juice.
if it comes out starting off, oh, I love this part and I want to expand upon that, that usually comes more from love than ego. And usually when you make something out of love, that comes out way better than ego
You just being a hating
passion.
ass bitch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually it's like I want to add to the story. Like I want to flesh out this part that the author didn't while still fitting kind of thing. You know, that's stuff that I enjoy and appreciate more relative to total rewrites. I mean, it's one thing if a rewrite really is just a thing that's obviously for fun, and typically it is, but a lot of it comes off as spiteful, and that just I can't.
Man,
That's the thing.
I don't know if you were an Attack on Titan reader, Seth, but
Oh
it was
boy.
I'm
man,
aware of Attack on Titan is so big I can't not be aware of what happens with it. Attack on Titan Requiem. This is funny. As someone who is like not really a big fan of Attack on Titan, seeing the Requiem stuff, just I was getting secondhand embarrassment, to be honest. I appreciate that degree of dedication to a point because a lot of effort really did go into that. But wow.
the
At that
thing
point,
that
might as
like
well just
threw
write
me
your own
off
story.
is like I read the like first chapter or two of that AOT Requiem, and I was like, I'm glad y'all aren't in the kitchen. There was a lot of like cheapy reviews. It was like, oh, like it's better, da, 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 da. And I was like, no,
Oh
like
my
y'all just
gosh.
fucking
I
lost the plot, and not in the British sense, but like
Mhm.
you actually lost the plot.
Lost
Like,
the tea.
Oh
I'm
man.
not surprised that
Well
he praised that.
I mean, the question of like rewrites, it comes from a place of like ownership, authorship, wanting to kind of steer the story in a specific way. I don't see MHA inspiring anything like Dragon Ball rewrites, whereas like Gohan gets his family killed in like the most horrible ways for some reason.
Another
Do
tweaking
people
Gohan
hate
meme.
Dragon Ball Z or something? I see those from time to time, and I'm just like, oh,
It's just Gohan fans, man.
like I usually don't make the Shrek face, but when I see those, I'm like, okay.
I saw like
It's wild, man. Like I
I
don't
saw,
see
like,
MHA inspiring that same level because honestly, like I don't think like people talk about it all the time, but I don't think I don't think the ending is inspiring quite that same type of reaction or even well, I don't know. Like
Yeah, if anything, I think with this ending, if people were to take inspiration from work, they just add in elements and or just explore stuff that My
yeah.
Hero doesn't really do.
I
Which
mean
isn't
like
bad. I don't
And
see
I
another
definitely have
rewrite.
those feelings.
I think also anybody who's confused why Ochako is Deku's hero simply has not been paying attention. Like
Which is crazy. They gave you a montage
I was
to
gonna say.
remind you, like,
yeah,
I was
It's
gonna
very
say,
well
like,
laid out.
they showed every single panel that he was talking about. Like,
also, most Gohan fans are not Gohan fans because, again, and I've said this multiple times, Gohan is a reformed street nigga. He was out here doing gang shit at 4. He was fucking airing out people's blocks, sliding across the galaxy to catch bodies. And by the time he was 7, at 11 years old, had to fight somebody that came out, with some old grudges against his family. And now at 18, he's going to school, trying to get a job, met a nice girl, reforming his life, getting out them streets. So I feel like you can't be a Gohan fan and be like, man, fuck Gohan. He got out the streets. You don't want the best for your boy?
They
You
like
want
the
him living
hype
his
beast
best
part
life?
of them.
You don't want
Okay,
him
that-
to
that
love his
unironically-
family? What is this nonsense?
That
okay, Anarchy,
unironically
I just gotta
reminds
say,
me.
I absolutely love your shirt.
Thank you.
paper scones. I just noticed that.
That actually unironically reminds me of Hawk's discourse. Hawks is another frustrating character that somehow gets treated the same way that League of Villains characters or League of Villains stands treat the villains. There's this mothering that goes around these characters that infantilizes them in ways that I do not appreciate.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
if I think that more can be written from Hawks's perspective, but I generally appreciate this direction for his character. Like being an optimist is not a bad thing, and also I actually relate to the source of that optimism a lot. I would like him to see him work through that pain of what he has been through, right? Like he had to kill a man. He had his wings both burned off and now forcibly taken from him. I understand those are things that are like people want to see the angst around, But like as far as like the direction for his character, running the HPSC, still maintaining his optimistic attitude for the future, that's all fine. Like
I also think there's a beauty in Hawks feeling his most free without his wings.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like before he was a bird in a cage, now he's a free man. Which do you pick?
Exactly. I think a lot of people forget that was mainly Hawks' thing is he didn't really have a choice being a hero. He was there by design and he wanted to be free. A lot of Hawks stuff is forgotten.
There's like a yes and no to that, right? Because he absolutely wanted to be a hero. Like he was absolutely down for from his perspective, right? Being accepted by or what is it? Quote unquote sold to the HPSC. He was good with that. Like that was way better than what he was living before.
Yep.
And it was his chance to be close to being like Endeavor. It's interesting that he went from doing that to wanting to support Endeavor, right? But ultimately, he's doing what he can do. He's in a unique position. He knows how Hero Society works front and back. He is from a background that a negative background that Hero Society has created, and now he's actually in a position to take more administrative approaches to that. So I think that's ultimately like very good. Like as a hero, you want to do what you can to help people, right? Whether you have wings or not. So I ultimately like the direction for Hawks.
Yeah. I want to acknowledge chat because I've been ignoring chat low key on accident. So Cameron is asking us. People are saying Endeavor and Hawks should be facing legal consequences. This kind of ties into what we're talking about. Hawks, should they be facing legal consequences, y'all? What do you think?
I mean, Endeavor outright said that he will happily face legal and all sorts of consequences to make sure to protect his family. Like Endeavor will make sure.
Yeah.
Hawks is interesting because this always goes back to the Twice situation, right? It's like ever since 2020, Hawks has constantly been mischaracterized. And his decisions with Twice. I don't think Twice or Hawks should face legal Jesus Christ, I
Repercussion.
cannot pronounce. Sorry, I'm sleepy. Yeah, but I do think that like he has atoned and he has redeemed himself. Obviously to us and to his
Yeah.
allies. To the public, probably not, but I don't think the public is worrying. I think
I'm
Hawks
gonna
is
be
doing
honest, man.
his best as well.
I don't really think they should face any legal consequences at all. I'm gonna be honest. These two literally saved Japanese society twice now, like doing the most of the most.
Twice.
Like exactly. So it's like not to taking that aside. Like if we're gonna look at Endeavor's abuse situation, like I don't really see a point where that would really legally come to him and put him in jail. Like there's so many abuse cases that are not really like done, and that's just a sad thing. But it's also these people are like 10 to 20 years later. I don't really think that's gonna affect them or Endeavor.
I feel like I saw Conqueror Larry said the public don't even care. I think the public does care, but like it's kinda at this point where it's not to the point they're going to seek like Endeavor must pay for his crimes, go to prison when like what was stated in the chat, like Endeavor is so debilitated. Um there's no point in him getting tried. Like he's in a wheelchair, one arm. Like we don't know when he is going to be able to walk again.
Or if
He's
he
Yeah.
going
ever
to live
will.
his life like alone,
Miserable. Yeah.
basically.
That's his
Like
consequence, if anything. Like
He literally had everything that he ever wanted, and then he realized that it was all worthless. Like the character arc that he went on was literally him discovering that both he was a terrible person and both he was fighting in service of really dark and really dark emotions, right? Like he was the furthest thing from a hero, and so he is crucified himself basically, or is in that constant state of hating himself. I'm not sure what jail time would do other than satisfy some very vindictive readers.
Cameron
that doesn't do
justified
anything.
it. He doesn't mean jail, but he does think sidekicks or should lose some agency.
I mean, he lost it. He doesn't have his agency anymore. The hero is gone.
Right, like he doesn't have like he'll have people in his life that will, support him, but they're doing so like the thing is like you can still respect Endeavor the hero and not necessarily NG the person. And also just the nature of the people who work with him, they know he's different. Like it's easier for someone like Hawks or work associates to not be as vindictive towards Endeavor because they weren't burned by him, So like I kind of expect people within Endeavor's circle to not necessarily completely disassociate with him in that way.
I've always said in real life, if you know someone and you like them somewhat, 90% of the times you'll let some of the shit slide just because you like them. I always expected that with Endeavor's agency.
The thing is though, is like it doesn't do anything for these characters, right? Like these are very much side characters kind of thing, a lot of them. Like the people who worked directly for him. So it's like, wait, do I care about them whether they're mad or not? Like what does that even what like I'm trying to think what does that even do for the story and
If the story was longer, we definitely could have gotten more screen time with these characters, right? Like they would have upgraded, right? And we would have cared a lot for them and wanted to see more of the story. But the story isn't long enough, and what we're getting
Yeah.
is good enough. And I do want to comment on something because I saw someone say this in the chat. Um, this nation said, "Why are fans, quote unquote, so trigger happy with killing characters off?" And one of my mutuals on Twitter even said this, and I'll repeat. Um, Looking for death for Endeavor is such a lame approach to handling his like conclusion, right? Like that is not a consequence for what he has done. Him dying does not absolve his past or him of his sins. Like
and nor does
looking,
Burning rejecting him. Like, well, Endeavor has suffered for his crimes now. Burnin has disassociated
oh
with
boy,
Endeavor.
His
Burning's
side chick
gone.
has
Oh
left him.
no.
Oh my god.
Like, oh wow,
However, will
Burnin
he
is
recover?
disassociating with him. Oh,
Like, is he ever going to find out next chapter, right? Like, the series ain't over yet.
I'll say I think to Nathan, a major reason why people look to death is because it's the most in your face like consequence that people don't have to like really think about. Like
yeah.
with like Endeavor living, there's more stuff you have to really think about with him living, with how it affects people, how it affects him. If he dies, it's just like there's his consequence right there. All your actions led up to this. You die a horrible death. That's literally what it is. But if we're talking about like minor side characters, that's a different story. You know, that's just different wanting different things.
Yeah. I
But
think that like
yeah,
that can come at the appropriate time. Uh, I think a great example I can use, and spoilers for Dragon Ball Z, Vegeta. Um, Vegeta's quote unquote that was fantastic. It was a great conclusion to that character arc, in a way that felt like this was the proper approach. And obviously there was more to it, but um, I was always like I won't lie, like I thought Endeavor was gonna die. And it wasn't in the way that like, oh, it makes sense, but like I wanted him to die in a way that made like he fulfilled his arc and he made sense, but obviously the future wasn't set in stone. I didn't know what was gonna happen. Looking at what we got with Endeavor when he killed All for One, right? Quote unquote killed. And he was like, I will live and keep my eyes on Toya. Him charting upwards with Toya into the sky to protect everyone. And then afterwards with the hospital. Fantastic writing. I'm glad that he did get killed off.
If it was just his and Toya's story, then yes, I can see that being a conclusion that works dramatically. The thing is it's not just his and Toya's story, it's the story of the entire family. So
Yes.
Endeavor dying or just going to jail, does that like actually help the family or not? And that's sort of how I approach it, right?
Yeah, because look at Natsuo. Like Natsuo is kind of like a controversial like member of the family because he constantly gets dogged, but also he gets praised. He's a very interesting character to follow with the fandom. If Endeavor dies, how do we approach Natsuo's story? How do we conclude his character arc?
Now
Because
to
Because he
just
that's
say
does
like,
have
thank
one.
fucking God, man.
right, because that's a thing. It's like Natsuo gets to live like Natsuo's closure is that he will always have someone to quote unquote hate for better or for worse, right? He always has someone to blame. Maybe he needs that or not. Like there are multiple nuances to that. But the thing is that if Endeavor dies, Natsuo has nothing either. Like there's nothing for his there's nowhere for his character to go. Like if even if you like so like it's weird to me. If you care about the other Todorokis, Endeavor kind of has to live.
Yeah, I mean, like Natsuo's. I mean, and sorry, Endeavor's reaction to Natsuo saying that he was cutting all ties with him was basically like, "Yeah, that's fair."
Yeah.
And
He
I
has
mean, there's
permission to dissociate from
Also,
Endeavor.
I will
Not that he
also
needs it.
say this is the first time I saw you as cool. It was really satisfying. Um, it was kind of like, yeah, this felt great leaving Natsu on this note.
Mhm.
Because like it gives you a lot to work with because that it kind of like circles back to the whole like some plot threads and some ideas should be like answered. Um, And now once the series ends, I'll probably look back on Natsuo and go, where like maybe in the future he talks to Endeavor, maybe he gets past it. It makes
Yeah.
the Endeavor family storyline so much more interesting
Yeah.
if he lives. Like that is it's the pussy way out. Like
The thing
there's-
with death when writing is if you're gonna write a death, a majority of the times it should be used to enhance the story in some way, whether that be through character interactions with each other now or worried about this death, or it affects society in some way. If you do Endeavor's death this late, what do you really get? You
Yeah.
know,
exactly.
you would just get like a chapter reaction of, oh well, Endeavor's gone. Would that really be satisfying, or would you rather see Endeavor, just live on and actually get interactions? Like, there would be no point for Endeavor dying right now, is how I always view it.
The only thing I would say is a little weak about the Todoroki subplot right now is I
Mhm.
wish we could see like Ray speak a bit more. Only like in
Yes.
her relationship, like she does stand by Endeavor, and I think there are ways that you can read that because after all this time, she is the mother of the Todoroki household. Like she has a co-responsibility in this. But I would like to just see them sort of talk about that. I wonder if we'll get that in the last chapter. Maybe we won't. I'm hoping the last chapter is
I
like
don't
50
think so.
pages. But that's the only kind of thing I feel is missing from the Todoroki plot is I would like Ray and Endeavor to have one last conversation. I think pretty much all the other Todorokis are fine. In terms of how I'm satisfied with them.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. A lot of cases when people say death is needed in the story, they just think randomly killing off characters 24/7. And I can see what they mean. Like, let's use the word. I can see what they mean by they want more death in the war. It can add certain ways. It's not really like necessarily the main thing you should be focused on in a war. I get, war deaths should happen, but I don't think it's the most important thing in a war, especially when you have multiple themes, character elements, and other stuff to focus on. That's more so an afterthought, I view it as. It would be nice to have it, but it's not necessarily like the main drive.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a point to where that kind of grittiness makes it feel what's the word? More real, I
Grounded,
suppose.
I guess.
Yeah. I understand like the want for some kind of grittiness or angst, but I'm not sure. Like in terms of these characters, right? Like I can't just pick someone and say I want you to die, kind of thing. Because it's like, because yeah, to a point, like okay, but these are like some of these are side characters, right? Who I don't really care about that much, or if they did die, it wouldn't really affect me.
Yeah,
And then
that's
there
the
are main
thing.
characters where if they did die, I would be like, that sucks.
Well,
Yeah.
it's like the Bakugo thing, right? Like some people felt like he oversold it, whatever. I'm not even, but when it happened, I was like, I think this would be a really shitty character arc conclusion for him. People were like, no, it's like it's good because it's like a tragedy. And I'm like, look, I appreciate a tragedy. I'm saying, even as a tragedy, this would suck. Like,
If you were invested in the character and anything, it's like, okay, it feels like you would have killed him for shock value more than anything
and
else.
Yeah.
that's what it felt like to me. Like this is just feels like would be a shock value death, not like this is actually benefits to the story. Just I wanted to sell drama, and this was the easiest way to do it. And I think like depending on how you handle it, like how you execute on it, living it ends up being more valuable than dying sometimes because it has more weight. Like Aizawa not actually being able to use his quirk anymore, not really being able to be a combatant, and having to be stand there idly and watch and have Monoma do it and put a student in danger when we know how he actually feels about kids in those positions. That's a lot more narrative punch for me than if Aizawa had just died in the war.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would have been so unwell if
Yeah.
Aizawa just bit it. I would have.
Like it genuinely would have been one of those things that it's like, well, when it happened, it would have been like, oh, this is painful, but like then it just sort of be like there's a void in this story, and it's not one that's like good.
The
Like,
also
It's
another
kind of like
thing was
how
okay.
Twice Dying created a void that was like good in the story. Like that felt like a legitimate, oh
Yeah.
shit, like we don't have that bit of like extra joy in the league anymore. It's just different.
Yeah, I was gonna say though, is like the thing with character deaths that is always interesting to me, and I was gonna say this is like let's use the first war. The people that died, Exless, Crust, Native, I don't really see people giving a fuck about them dying nowadays. So it comes down to me is like, what would Keto, Onuma, and like other bums dying really do for you? You know?
Because what it would add to, or at least for the people who would be like, yeah, this is so cool, are the people who want uh death counts on characters and like named characters' deaths so they can highlight them, be like, oh, look at my favorite villain, like he actually killed XYZ. He's so much cooler than your villain who
Yeah,
killed
because I was about to say, no one gives a
ABC.
fuck that Native dies. Like, I don't see anyone bringing up Native's death
Aside
anywhere
from
under.
the
You clearly
custodian.
don't watch the custodians.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the custodians, that's their meme, right?
They had like a whole like morning montage for him.
I
all right?
love them. My goodness.
I
No,
felt so sad
I mean,
for them.
people
They
don't
were
even talk about Midnight is the thing.
Yeah, Majestic's not talked about. That it would be the same thing with a lot of other My Hero characters, where it comes down to you can't kill a lot of the class, you can't kill a lot of the main heroes, so it comes down to there's not much you could have done besides
Yeah, no,
doing random
you can
fodder
kill the
deaths.
hero persona, right? You can kill the hero, but
Which
it's
they did with Endeavor.
killing. Yeah, it's and Gran Torino.
and Hawks.
Yeah,
Like in No,
Like the death of a hero in My Hero has been more about the death of the hero as people understand it. Like there
the
is no
industrial
All Might.
hero.
Like
I will say I do think that like sometimes I've seen a lot of talk about like Bakugo and like since we're on the topic of debt and executions and like the debt of a hero is really impactful.
All right, guys. I gotta head out pretty
Aw.
soon.
oh
So
shit.
can I just
All
give
right.
my final thoughts?
Yes.
Yep.
Please.
All right. So really love this chapter. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. I thought it was really well done. It was a confession while not being a confession, but you kind of like it effectively serves the same purpose. I think it's very well done. I like the theme about how progress takes time in this ending. It's not like Deku beat the bad guy and instantly everything went right. It's like, no, it takes a little extra effort. And even this chapter is like, not everything is absolutely resolved. This is a thorny path. It's going to take a long time, but we're going through it anyway because that's the only way things are going to get better. I love that theme. I love Deku calling Ochako his greatest hero. This has been hinted at throughout the whole series, and you get this payoff. It's like, that's Deku basically saying, you are the most amazing, most important person to me. Like, that's what he's saying. Really well done. The class showing up, I could have done with them appearing like a little later, but also like seeing how it all wrapped up with the granny reaching out and Deku's impact. And I love how they're spinning the hero Billboard charts. Like that's really like that's the direction I want to go. It's not like you don't just do away with the system. You find ways to fix it and make it better. One more left, guys. Man, it's crazy. Really, the only question left is what's happening to Deku as a hero, but kind of the indication seems to be that he is going to be fine in that regard, that that his power is never going to go out, or whether he awakens to a new quirk, or whether the embers are going to be permanently there. I don't know. Yeah, but I do think we are due for one last big surprise, and that's going to be happening in the next chapter. I can't wait until I have like all 42 completed volumes to like read through all at once or anytime I want to be like, this is a full complete story. Maybe part 2 happens, maybe it doesn't, I don't know, but I'll be there either way. This has been, again, I think I keep saying this over the past couple months, but this has been so much fun. Thank you guys for having me on,
Hell
and
yeah.
I'll see you again next week for the finale.
Any predictions for next chapter?
Mineta gets a really hot girlfriend.
Oh, I love that.
No.
Also,
We're
never forget who predicted 42 volumes. This guy. How I did it, not 100% sure how to explain it.
I predicted 42 a while back, but anyways, bye.
See
Bye-bye.
you.
Also, you guys manifested this. I hate you. With love.
Look, if I would have known that it was going to land like that, I would have predicted a higher number for more chapters. But it is what it
I
is.
was so excited. We can hit 43 volumes. 43 will be like full epilogue. And it's like, no. Take me back to when I believe that.
Hey, my personal stance is that I think that I think the volume is going to have more. I genuinely think this is going to be a more content and volume situation. I just don't.
Yeah.
I feel like even though he's like, oh yeah, I covered what I wanted to cover. I think he's gonna find stuff that he like wants to include, just because it's not like that's never happened before.
Probably a lot
And I
of
think
volume
that
extras.
there's a lot to be said for like maintaining story beats and like trying to make sure you hit those in a weekly magazine versus what you want the complete story to be. What you need, little baby. So, and like maybe that's just copium or however you want to call it, but I can see it happening. And with the announcement of more projects, hi. Want me to open this straw for you? You
Oh,
know you
shoot.
don't have anything to use it
Actually,
with?
might as well ask you this. Onyx, did you read the one shot that came out today as well?
It was a
Or
one shot
I
that
don't
came
know
out
if
today?
it came out today.
it was a tie-in for the movie.
Yeah, a tie-in for the movie.
Oh,
Did it
I
come
didn't
out
read that
today,
yet.
I did
Thomas?
not see a
Did,
tie-in.
Sucks.
Did Jump
I mean,
translate it?
I mean, we got leaks for it on Wednesday, so I
Uh,
believe so. Let me check this.
It should be out if that's.
We didn't see it.
It's called Connect to the Day. Let me see if it.
I don't know if that's out actually. Hold on, let me check.
Where do we usually find it? Let me see.
I didn't see a My Hero tie-in. Yeah, I'm not seeing it.
It was I guess like to cover it.
Here, I'm gonna have to put on a Yale cap and hook and see if I can find it.
I mean, it's very cute. It very cute. Exactly what you want to see from a one-shot tie-in.
Let's see.
I know it was from the Team Up Missions author, but
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't think it
Okay.
came out then.
I'm not seeing
Yeah,
anything
it's
on
not
My
English.
bad.
That
I
sucks.
just-
What the hell?
I found some raws for it.
Yeah. They be sucking.
Shoot.
Looks like it's just centered on pre-final battle.
Or they'll probably like release it for the DVD, the Blu-ray for the movie. So we'll
Dang.
probably get that then. Or when they're handing it out, because I remember for World Heroes Mission, they did that, right? Like they handed it out to people who watched it. So it'll
Mhm.
probably be on Amazon, because the movie's out in a few days.
Pain.
But I did want to talk about Bakugo for a second.
Yes.
Go for it.
Because obviously we are on a break with the anime. Kind of like with the manga, right? Like the manga, we got Bakugo's set and we were on a break, right? So we had to settle for Bakugo's, dead face for a week or 2 weeks, whatever. I do want to say that like out of like most, because like fake out deaths, quote unquote, are really kind of tiring to see in
Mhm.
manga. You kind of see it, you roll your eyes and be like, oh, it's shonen. But for a fake out death, I found it satisfying, weirdly. I think my feelings about it got more concrete with the anime. Hearing Spirit to succeed, the way that they handled Bakugo's talk with, well, quote unquote talk, Message might didn't talk back, but seeing him like express how all he wanted was an autograph. Like it highlighted that he is at the end of the day, he's a kid. He's a 16-year-old child. Or technically, what, 17 in verse? Um, and like what next chapter after that stated like we can't let this child die. Like I'm not gonna stand there, right? Like Edshot said that. And then seeing Bakugo return later, it was so well executed. And also added to Bakugo's like growth and character arc that I can't really complain anymore. Because usually when a fake out that happens, the character will come back and go, "Oh well, I'm back. Whatever, move on." But no, there's actual consequences to this, and I like that. I really like that. And like Coyote said in the chat, like if I'm going to get a death, I want it to be with a character I care about. I don't want it to be with a character I don't really care about. I think what salvages like characters like Crust um dying, because I liked Crust with the limited amount of time we had. Like he was a cool hero. And he sacrificed himself to save a character we appreciate and we adore. That being Aizawa. So when he dies, you do feel something, but not a lot, because you are connected with him. However, if you want to go down the route of like, yeah, he passed away. He had a family, right? Like, I still isn't what was it of this war? The guy who can create shields. Did we speculate that was like his sibling?
Yes, I'm pretty sure that is his brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
team up missions
Okay.
mentioned
Okay.
that.
You know, I'm pretty sure I remember that, but I'm not entirely sure because they don't translate those chapters fast, so I forget stuff like
Yeah,
that.
they tend to get translated when the volume comes out.
Unfortunately, and it's so disappointing. You could add a little section on Viz just for everything that pops out. Like, what are you doing, guys?
Yeah.
Like, I can care about Crust because of that, but it feels flimsy, right?
Yeah.
Caring about somebody by
Also,
proxy is different than just straight up caring about them in a lot of ways.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that when you're doing a side character like Crust and that's how you're killing them, that is the way to do it, is you're attaching their death to a character or you're making their sacrifice something that you're like, damn, that guy was legit. Sucks that he died,
Yes.
but like he died for something good. Like you kind of
Crust was also that side character in the series where like the initial reaction to him from fans was like, he fucking sucks, right? Like his name is Crust, so they made fun of him. Pretty sure one of his nicknames in the fandom was Krusty. However, the anime onlys saw him die and they respected the shit out of him.
Yeah.
Which was pretty cool.
That was a surprisingly good death, despite the fact that the character we met for like 1 minute.
Yeah,
Just
basically.
It's because of just the sincerity with how he writes, and also just the way Crust goes out is such a Chad like move. Like
Wasn't
he was him when he did
wasn't
that.
I remember there was like a tweet put out like a couple of years ago, like 4 years ago, because obviously it was 4 years ago, 2020. Was it 2020? Yeah, 2020. People compared Crust's smile to All Might's. It was
Yes.
drawn the same way, and like that level of detail made me love Crust even more because I love All Might. And seeing like he went out like All Might would in that scenario if All Might was there to save Aizawa.
Yeah.
Like add so much more to Crust because like when it comes to manga, obviously it's a visual medium. Um, you lack audio, you lack sound design, so you have to consume it using your own format, right? Your brain. Um, but it's like you can get a lot more appreciation for characters just through how they emote. And because he emoted like All Might, I have more appreciation for it.
Yeah, and that's really symbolic, obviously, because Shigaraki is decaying an All Might symbol. So just
Yes.
it's very good on multiple layers. And Aizawa's reaction is so visceral too.
He was
Like,
horrified. Oh,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. It's a second and you miss it, but that was a really good one.
speaking of, I saw the we saw him in this chapter twice, and I want to say twice because the first time we see him, it's the color spread, but seeing him so proud and happy
Yeah,
makes me really happy.
everyone in the
inspiring.
class is like well, like, there's chaos in the shot, but he's just like, yeah.
These are my kids.
Yeah. No, I love it. There's nothing that can like no storm can move his heart in that instance. Oh man. The fact that this is a both a 10th anniversary color page and also, celebrating the end of the series hits me hard just in two ways.
Yeah, I just we already have one more week. Technically, for me, a few days. 'Cause I read the leaks. And I want to go leakless, but like I can't. Like, there's no way I'm gonna avoid the spoilers.
I'm going leakless. I will do whatever it takes to not because
Fuck
Uninstall
that.
Twitter.
the other
I enjoy
'cause
Twitter, man.
Yeah, because the other thing is, it's not so much, right, the leaks themselves, it's the visceral, vitriolic reactions to it
Yeah.
that just, I'm trying to enjoy this thing that's coming to an end. For one, you're spoiling it to my face, and two, you're being extremely, well, just toxic at it. So it's like it's the multiple things that I just don't want to deal with. It's not worth it. It's a terrible experience.
Yeah.
I
This
I
week was
enjoy
insufferable.
seeing the toxic reactions off the rip just because it knows what I can expect later down.
One of the things that I always find funny though is that like
That's true, actually.
the amount of knee-jerk reactions that I see in spoiler discourse. When I remember there were leaks for when the Notebook chapter dropped, and they were discussing, the past users. Those leaks had multiple quirks, like fake
Oh,
quirks
they're all fake. Yeah.
revealed, where like Deku was going to be able to shoot plants from his fingers and
Yeah.
blah 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 blah, like all kinds of there was all kinds of like fake leaks, and so I don't understand how there's been multiple fake leaks throughout just like the history of the series, and people still have these like overly visceral reactions to leaks. And despite like how people like to act, MHA is we do not have John Weary.
Yeah.
Like,
We like to believe we do, but we don't have John.
Right. Like I remember there will be a line here or there where I'm like, I wish Viz actually got this better, but then it's like the actual translation, it is in fact accurate most of the time when I read. And in fact, I was surprised. I thought, based off of the reactions to some of the things, that I definitely would find things that I didn't enjoy about this chapter. I was impressed with the chapter, actually. I walked away with it thinking it was closer to a 9 out of 10 than a 10 out of 10, which I was like, what? Because, I mean, I know I'm a fan of MHA. I read it in good faith. So obviously I'm going to have probably a less critical mindset going into it. But MHA tackled everything with the right amount of nuance this chapter. I guess I'm getting into my final thoughts when I
that's
start
fine.
talking
I was
that way,
thinking
but...
about heading towards that path anyway. So
Oh, okay. All right, then I'll just continue because I was also a bit late. I was doing my own reaction to the chapter, but
no, you're good.
it was
Obligatory plug. Fucking go to his channel.
Sorry, I just that's what
No,
I was
I'm
doing.
plugging it for my reasons. Go to his fucking channel, man.
Thank you.
We are
All
My Hero
right.
community, and whatever Seth does after My Hero, you gotta check that shit out.
Yeah. Like it
So
actually really
whatever he does after next week.
Yeah, no, I'll be there for next week as well. I try to do it bright and early, right before your stream goes. I think I'm finishing up by the time you start, basically, but it depends. It's the last chapter. I'm probably gonna ruminate about it a lot, so I probably will be late to the stream too.
That's fine.
Don't worry, we're gonna have everyone popping up for next stream, man. I've heard everyone's coming, man.
Oh
Ian,
my
maybe,
gosh, that's gonna be
fucking
an event. I can't wait.
East Tarnish, maybe. I don't know. I know Coffee wants to come in. and Coffee's a notorious disliker of the series. So we're gonna have all opinions on this shit.
That'll be fun. Thank you again for hosting this space. I can't say it enough, but thank you.
Oh yeah, man. We appreciate you here.
I'm just glad I
So
made it.
okay, so I guess I will get into my final thoughts a bit. I also was late, so I didn't really give my full thoughts on the chapter. Like I said, I was really impressed with this chapter because it handles things with a degree of nuance that it's really easy to wax on how the world should be and be making authoritative, clear, unnuanced statements. Like you have the pulpit, so to speak, to say whatever you want at this point. But Horikoshi is very sensitive with his world building to a point where it's like, you know what? Even if I want to be critical about some things, it's like he left the door open for for more nuanced takes, I should say. I guess I want to start with Deku and Uraraka. The fact that it's not a direct love and confession, I ended up really liking because, as I'm sure you guys talked about a lot before already, Deku saying someone is his hero means a whole lot. He's a hero worshiper, effectively. And to say that about Uraraka, but not just acknowledge her strength, but also her weakness, is huge for the themes that has been set up and established. He's basically doing what she did for him back with her rooftop speech. Because what she said was, yes, he has a special power, but he's not a special person. He has weakness too. Where All Might validates Deku's strength, his strength of heart, that is worth of being a hero. Uraraka turns that back and says, yes, you are a hero, but also you're a person that is weak and need help at times too. Basically, it's a full circle of validation. And Uraraka gave Deku part of that. So Deku does both here. He says, you are my hero. Please tell me what is hurting you. And that I love how that's all delivered. It's very nuanced, and it also doesn't take away from Uraraka's grief. She is going through something so deeply serious right now, probably more than she's ever felt before. And I do feel like, yeah, a straight up romantic confession would have been rather, what's the word? Tasteless is kind of strong, but it is kind of without tact, blunt. There was a better word for it, but I forget. Anyways, you get what I mean, right? It's just sort of
get you. It is in conventional storytelling means it is the time in what they were going through and what they were discussing. And I think we even kind of talked about that last week, where it's like you can really just get it behind the headshot if he gives her a hug, and like that's kind of enough to like, as long as they're talking, like as long as he's there to comfort her and grab her hand, like that's the important part.
Honestly, and yeah, and like that the hand holding is really good. I don't know, it's difficult in English. I hate like mystifying the Japanese language because that's not really it. But the way Deku says it in Japanese, like it kind of does get to me because that's just a very emotional, tender phrasing or inflection, I should say, in his voice when he says that. Because the way he says it, it's kind of childlike. It's like innocent, but it's gentle. It's delicate. It's like, you can take my hand. That it makes things feel so much better, kind of, or it makes your heart feel light. And that's just a very tender moment. It's one of those peak things where hand holding is actually the most romantic thing you can do.
Yeah.
Like people will talk about kissing and other such things, but like sometimes the hand hold is just peak, and that's what that was to me.
Isn't hand holding considered extremely romantic in Japan, Japanese culture?
I am not qualified to say so much because I don't know everything that goes into this kind of decision with
I
how
think for
romance is portrayed in
Jump
Jump.
magazine, you could say
Yeah,
it probably is. But
this is
Because
there.
I remember like reading something about that, like with when Kingdom Hearts 3, when Sora and Kairi held hands when they shared the fruit on Destiny Island before the final battle.
I think it's just plain romantic period, kind of like I think that's like just a cross-cultural thing where everyone's like, yes, the handhold, like a couple
Tanisha
holding hands in
confirmed it
public kind of
is.
thing.
Ooh, well, that's good to know.
But yeah, when I saw the handholding, it's also just strongly thematic with MHA. Like handholding is super important in this series. Like it matters every time it happens when it's whether it's Ida and reaching out to Deku, whether it's Bakugo and Deku working together to save All Might, or just or of course right here, or when he's trying to reach out to Tenko, literally it hurts him to do that. He loses his arms in the process of doing that, but he reaches out to hold his hand. Like it's the handhold is super important. It's not only romantic, but in this case, to me, it strikes towards shipping because obviously Uraraka has strong feelings for Deku and Deku has strong feelings for Uraraka, and this is the best he can do for her. And I think that's just handled great. And the way Horikoshi draws is so like Uraraka is crying with her whole body here, like just her face. Like obviously she's covered in snot, but like just the way she heaves over, while she's crying. Like I love his art style. It really gets me invested. It does it in ways that the anime unfortunately doesn't all the time, but I am sure that Aya Neru, when she gets to perform this, it's gonna break me in half. Like I can just hear her voice still from like the rooftop scene. She is so talented. She's going to kill this. I can't wait.
Her voice cracks are amazing.
Right. Right. So yeah, the Deku and Uraraka thing is handled so well. I honestly don't mind the interruption from the rest of the class. I think it's sweet. I love that Suyu says it's okay to open up to us, to me, to tell me anything. I love that. That's so sweet. And just seeing everyone's concerned about it. Obvious and what is that? And yes, the way that transitions back and forth with the mysterious quote unquote villain, I think that was also handled well. I was coping. I wanted it to be like, okay, this is a movie. We're gonna get another movie. This is a movie tie-in. No.
Movie 5.
No.
Even better. He's a reflection of things getting better.
I still believe in movie 5, but
I believe in movie
what this
5. Just fortunately, this boy won't have to be the villain for movie 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? With the way that they're moving the pacing in the anime, if they actually finish the fight with Iron Might, I'm thinking that they might actually make the last entire stretch of MHA into a one movie, which I don't want, but I think they could do it because of how action heavy those chapters are. Like that'll actually go by pretty quick, I think. So
yeah, I
Yeah,
might.
I mean, it
that
really
as you will.
depends on how
me
far the
see.
season goes. Because like I've seen some people suggesting that it'll go when Bakugo wakes up. But that does not leave a whole lot of time for even like a single core season
Yeah.
to wrap it up.
It
So
honestly also wouldn't hit all of I don't feel like it would be paced properly as a movie either, to be fair. Like just it
So
I really do think it is better to just have a shorter anime season than it would be to have a movie. But I can also kind of see the movies are really profitable. So I could also see I can see them trying to do that. I don't really want that though.
so I wanted to like just mention this. Like Mugen Train, the movie, like for Demon Slayer, didn't even finish the arc itself. And the Mugen Train arc is 7 chapters. No, no, is
it's
it
13.
13? Yeah, 13. Why does it say? Oh shit, yeah, you're right. Why did it? Okay, the wiki fucked up. But even still, 13 chapters is like really short, but obviously a movie has to start and end in a very like you can't start the movie off like you do in an anime, right? Like it would have to make sense for the movie. I don't think My Hero's finale would fit as a movie, but I like the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
like Mugen Train really worked because one, it was a short arc, and two, you really needed the movie level CGI to make the train
Yeah.
and the demon goop looking stuff even remotely good. Because that would not have looked good on a TV budget.
Yeah.
CGI goop would be hard on that kind of budget, and they definitely made their money's worth back too. So I mean, I wish everyone a UFO table animation. So I did get to talk about Hawks a bit this time, which so I'm not gonna retread too much ground there. But I will say that the social hero aspect to it, I was really happy to see because it doesn't actually matter all that much what Hawks does if there isn't a ground up movement that supports any kind of, you know, institutional level change, right? It doesn't. That's the thing where we start off where it's like, okay, yeah, heroes will all do the right thing. We have the hero institution, they will handle it, kind of thing. And that's obviously a huge problem in this society. Everyone was like, okay, leave it to someone else to be the good person. So now you see this embracing of a type of personal responsibility for the people that are suffering around you. So I really liked this aspect of the chapter. When I first read Leaks, I thought the hero billboard was the quote unquote only thing that was being mentioned as far as how society will shift. The hero billboard and the granny reaching out to save the not Tenko. But the fact that it was made clear that this is only part of the plan also set my own critiques at ease a bit because yeah, you're not going to just fix society by touching the billboard. Like that's but I like that that was specifically addressed. He's expanding the billboard not to include, more than 10 top heroes in the industry. He's literally talking about things that average people are doing that are heroic. And that's exactly what you need. You need that kind of change. You need to show people, hey, look how much of a hero this person was. No, they don't have a quirk that can, fight villains, but what they did, their actions has helped so many people. They deserve this kind of public recognition. That's really good. That's a really good shift for society on the institutional level, and it fosters it on the individual social level too. So I was actually surprised by how much I would end up vibing with this. It doesn't dismiss the fact that more needs to be done, but it keeps the focus on the characters' hearts, like actually changing hearts and minds. And that is, I think, a strength of MHA's, honestly. Like, there was an interview that blew up recently because Horikoshi said, and we already talked about it, Horikoshi said that he doesn't write with messages about the real world in mind when he's being responsible to the world of MHA. He has messages he wants to tell, but he's telling it within the context of his world. And that's obviously much better than being I am again losing the word, but like it's a really good word for it too, shucks. But callous, I guess, is the best word I can think of when you're talking about real serious issues with flippant. Yep, this is how you solve that. This is how you solve that. This is how you solve that. Like there's an arrogance to that rubs me the wrong way. Horikoshi doesn't do that. He's writing with this sincerity towards his world, and I think that really comes through in this chapter. It's what makes it feel like a wholesome experience from start to finish. So yeah, this was a great penultimate chapter for MHA. There's more that I would like to see always, but what we got, I don't have any real complaints about, I don't think. So thank you, as always, for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
Yes, sir.
Glad to have
Also,
you on, Joseph.
Seth.
Yeah.
I just
What's
want to say thank you. I saw what you did. I saw you bring that Shigaraki thing on my timeline.
Look,
This I get it. I get it.
but you don't understand. That's insane.
Absolutely. They knew what they were doing.
And like the position of the hands, like, wow, that's inspired.
Yeah.
That's a word for it, Seth.
Inspired.
That's a word for it.
That is inspired. Yeah.
Somebody's
got
in there.
the French uses flowing.
What are you mogging?
I don't think that works.
No comment.
Hey, fucking yo! I just saw this. You're a freaky frog.
Hey, relax.
Hold on.
Seth
I
never
didn't
goons.
put
Let him
that on
goon a
my
little bit.
timeline, okay? Someone else put that on my timeline.
Yeah, but
Sure.
now you put it in my fucking mind, man.
Yeah, but like look just look at it.
Listen. Another Fraser W. That's all I'll say.
I will say also I did not expect to like if you do follow me on Twitter, speaking of Twitter, I did not expect my weekly thread last week to pop off that hard.
As it
Uh,
should.
I'm just really on a personal level, I'm happy if, my takes have helped people enjoy MHA's writing and I I mean, I won't say I'll never hit that much interactions again, but like um I'm glad I was able to do something on that level before the actual series, like right as the series ends. That does mean a lot to me. So, thank you guys for your support in that regard as well. To just the interactions that I get on Twitter and the interactions that I get on my YouTube videos. Thank you.
Hells
Of course.
yeah.
Joseph, you want to drop your final thoughts?
Yeah, I have no complaints with this chapter. I thought it was actually really cute. I really like the Deku and Chaco talk. I guess I shouldn't be surprised that Izuku kept the fact that he only had embers of One for All left to himself and didn't tell the rest of the class, but secret's out now. So I'm just really excited to see where things go. Like wonder if there's gonna be like a little jump in time just to a little. Actually, I'm not even sure what's gonna happen in the last chapter. I'm just really excited to see how this all ends up. I guess I don't really have a whole lot to say. I'm sorry.
All right.
It's all good.
Coyote.
Well, for this chapter, I think this was one of the most overblown hatred of a chapter for no reason in My Hero that I can recently think of. I thought this was overall a really alright chapter. It didn't really do anything wrong per se. There are some elements I didn't like. That's just a me thing. I don't like class 1A being involved, but I expected it. So to not expect it is kind of ignorant at a certain point. So that's just one thing I didn't like. But I do like what I really did like was the grandma coming in to save the kid instead of Deku and Uraraka being the ones to do it. I thought that was actually very more interesting to see for society to be the one rebuilding itself than Deku and Uraraka itself being the ones that forcefully fix it. I thought this was the better direction Hori could have went, so I very appreciate that. A lot of this chapter, for me, I could have done without and would have preferred if we focused more on a Uraraka Deku talk, whatever that be. I don't really know, but I know I would have preferred a bit more of the talk. So personally, I don't really need to see some of the stuff like I would have just taken out the class 1A and just added more to Deku talking about Shigaraki or something. That's what I would have preferred. But it being here is not bad in itself. Yeah, I don't really have much to really say. There's not much bad. Also, I did actually want to say I saw earlier there was a $2 super chat we didn't acknowledge from Nadir. He gave us two to say give Deku a statue. Hori, damn it. So I wanted to point that out before that was forgotten.
Oh,
So
I'm
thank
glad you
you,
said something
Nadir.
because I did not see that super chat.
Hell yeah. Yeah, give Deku his statue. He deserves it. Maybe we'll get a statue of Deku at the end because of the new hero work that Hawks made.
No,
Which
I want Deku to draw the previous users from scratch for there to be 9 statues.
that'd be lit. No cap. But yeah, man. I think overall, I think people should start looking at a series overall with if they were upset at it, just look at it as an overall in perspective. I think that's the best way to do it. I started writing my own series and I started looking at My Hero way differently. Because I started looking at things as more like, oh, this was built up and this was yada yada and this needed this. So I can't really be too mad at certain things. Whereas a lot of the stuff where I had my own certain ideas about My Hero before I started were a lot more fanficky and less in the realm of realism of what Horikoshi set up in itself. So I think it's more important we start realizing more from the concept of the story that is already being told what to expect. Final chapter, what I predict, I hope we get a maybe a fast forward, maybe. That way we can just see where we are in society. That way we get a closed ended and we can see Deku as the number one, whether that be as the number one, burger flipper or as the number one hero. Either works for me. But yeah, that's all I got. 7 out of 10, but not bad.
Thomas?
Hi. So I do want to comment on that as well with the statues. Um, because that was kind of controversy, but it wasn't people being upset that Monoma got a statue, but you can clearly see there's more than one statue. There's Monoma being focused on because Monoma is Monoma. So if he sees a statue, he's gonna be like, ha ha ha, I'm so much better than y'all. Look at this statue, even though there's like probably class 1A statues right next. He'll probably be like, mine's the most polished. But I really, really like this chapter. The not only just a little hint of like green tea, the Midori cha, uh, but just seeing Deku and Uraraka be intimate with each other, but not in the romantic sense. But more they got to be like vulnerable. And it was really cute. And seeing the quote unquote villains like monologue like connect into Uraraka's, where he was like, yeah, I've been so scared. So why are all these people smiling? Why do they have smiles? And Uraraka like flashes to Uraraka being like, I always love seeing people smile. I really like that. And I can imagine it in the anime. Seeing Uraraka break down over Toga. Also, I did want to comment on this because obviously when leakers have Twitter accounts and they're out there with their personas, they end up giving opinions. And like you can have your opinions. I'll never like quote unquote shit on you for it. However, one of their opinions was what was the point of the panel where she looks out into the distance? And obviously we learned like, you know, Toga versus Uraraka wasn't filmed. We never got to see, well, the public never got to see the outcome. But there was a clear reason for that. And it doesn't matter if it wasn't addressed in this chapter, like quote unquote, like it was addressed through how Uraraka felt. You can tell she was still feeling guilty. We didn't have to get a refresh of that in her conversation with Deku. We know it. We know how she feels. But I loved seeing Deku call her his hero. Up until that point, we've seen like plenty of times where Deku idolizes heroes, obviously, because he is a hero simp. Like All Might was his idol growing up, like someone he appreciated and looked up to. But Bakugo is his image of victory. But Uraraka was always there saving him the most. She's always been there for him. I also love like how he breaks her down. Like, yeah, like throughout multiple times in our time together, I've seen you put people before yourself. It is just cute, just seeing them know each other so well. Also, when Uraraka like says, "I said I was heading home for now," um, when she's like blocking her face, it's very similar to like the sports festival pose where Deku like is covering his face when Uraraka like approaches him. Um, it reminded me of like when Tamaki was talking to Nejire for the first time and he immolated Mirio. Um, I just saw like a cute little comparison. Maybe it wasn't intentional, but I still found it cute. Also, the Deku panels in this chapter were phenomenal. I know a lot of people aren't a big fan of his hair, and I get it. Um, yeah,
It's not a
but
stylized
it's
cut. It's
yeah,
not like
it's temporary. Like it's not meant to be a fashion statement. It's temporary. It'll grow back. But for now, he doesn't look that bad. All of his panels in this chapter were really, really, really great. A standout one was which would have been fine, but I had a feeling you'd be here, just seeing Deku stare at the camera and see like the wind pick up his hair, like brushing it back. It looks fire. Um, but yeah, the Uraraka and Deku talk was amazing. I do wish it was longer, but what we got with it is phenomenal. I like that. That's something I don't get. Because I get it, right? Like we all want these moments to last longer, but when you know it isn't lasting longer, you see it right in front of you, you might as well dissect what you're given and not let that like blindside you, right? Because I've seen a lot of people use that as an excuse for them seeing red and raging out against Horikoshi. But it's like there's a story to be told here. Like Hori is doing a great job at conveying how Uraraka feels, how Deku feels about Tenko and Shigaraki, seeing them connect to each other, um, seeing Deku offer his hands to Uraraka. Also, something to note, Deku's hands are so roughed up. Um, I'm pretty sure it was because of Rewind. Like it didn't fully heal his hands. So he was left with more scars. And it looks fucking sick. Like I it's a weird thing to say, right? Because it's scars. But obviously scars are memories of the past. And it's also because like he'll never forget Shigaraki, not just through memory, but through his body. Like there are remnants of what his fight with Tomura. Um, and seeing like Deku hold Uraraka's hand, it was cute. It was adorable. Um, also Hori's like I want to say like his character acting. I don't know like the phrase, but seeing like after Deku says like holding a hand can be enough to soothe the pain. Seeing like Uraraka stare into his eyes and then lift up her head and then go right into his chest. Like you can follow it through. Um, it's really visually well like executed. But there's so much to comment on like Uraraka Deku that we have commented on, so I'll move over to the next point. I don't really care about Class 1A being there. I would have rather them wait a bit longer in the chapter, but it is what it is. Seeing Deku being lifted up and seeing them all charge in and then being worried and then seeing Deku like stare at his fist after like think about the embers. Um, he looks so proud, looks so happy. But there is one important part of it about this chapter that like no one has talked about. I'm really shocked. I've not seen one person. Obviously, it's my feed, so maybe I just haven't seen the tweets. Eri got to perform, and she got to rock out. Like she reminded me of Pop Step in a
Yeah, I
way.
forgot about that.
Yeah, seeing like Eri like just jam out right next to Jiro like in the last panel of her. Um, it's really adorable. Like Eri has gone a far, like so far in this like story. She's came a long way, and seeing her just genuinely happy, like it's precious. Um, I've also commented on the Billboard charts and how it's a great addition to my hero, right? Um, but I find it weird how we spent so much time like dissecting Hawks, and Hawks still gets brought back to what people feel about him because it happens with every character in this series, but not to this level. I feel like people just don't want Hawks to succeed. Like people say they want Hawks to be happy, but when Hawks is going down a path that he feels fulfilling, that this is his rightful place, that he can secure a future where heroes can rest easy, they just don't want it. And I just don't get it. Um, also when like, because in the final page you see like the final panel is like him tossing the stick into like the container. I was trying to think about that for the past few days. Like, why is that indicative of? And probably is like he made a point, like he landed his shot that yeah, Deku did prove something, like society is moving and like they are trying to do their best. It is healing. Gradually, it's a slow process, but we will get to that point in time where like obviously we're never gonna have another Shigaraki or another Toga or another Twice. But it's not gonna be easy. And I don't get why people are so adamant on believing like it's going to be an easy fix. Because like nothing these past chapters have like implied that, right? Um, I just don't get it. I feel like people are like taking their headcanons of the future of the final chapter that it didn't even come out yet. And I'm not even sure what's going to happen. I don't even know we're going to get a time skip. I don't know if we're going to pick back up and they go back to UA and uh stuff happens. Like I just don't know. And I feel like not a lot of people who are saying this do know, and they're just pushing wild accusations because there's a lot to comment on. And I assume Hori will do it in next chapter. So we have to, this is going to be the last time we're going to say this, let Hori cook. But overall, I love this chapter. Really great. I think it's a 10 out of 10 for me. Obviously, people are like, if you disagree, disagree. I also will say, I think that a lot of, sorry to like yap for a bit here, but
It's all
I feel
good.
like a lot of people put so much, is it credence? Is that the right word? They put so much stocks into a manga being perfect that if a manga isn't perfect, they view it as bad. If that's their MO, that's fine. But it's like me personally, if I approach this arc, right, this epilogue, and there's 9 things that Hori approaches, and 8 out of those like points that he tackles, he does well, but there's 1 or 2 that he does badly, I'm not going to say this arc is bad or this epilogue. And I've seen a lot of people have that opinion that like if you like this epilogue, if you like this the past war, um, you're just a dick, right? You're a hoary angel. What would I say? A hoary angel? Is that the phrase?
Hori's angel.
I've seen people
Yeah,
call them
Hori's
Hori's
angels.
Angels, yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to remember it. But that's not true. I feel like a lot of people can appreciate the war. A lot of people can appreciate the epilogue, but also acknowledge its faults, but still love the end product. But I think that like if people, because over the next few days before the leaks, I also recommend uninstalling Twitter or just avoiding it. I know you can't, but you read the leaks. But for people who want to wait and read the officials, you're going to see a lot of really negative takes. You're going to see a lot of people try to say stuff that will bring you down, that will make you want to react to them. Because I feel like everyone in this, like who are listening, feels great about this series, right? They love it, they care about it, and because we're so close to the final chapter, you're going to have people try to test your love for it, who are like, if you don't critique the manga, you're not a true fan. Like those type of people, which is a bullshit claim. I still don't stand by that. Ignore them. Avoid social media. Consume My Hero however you want. Just have fun with the last chapter. Because once the last chapter comes out, you're most likely not going to get anything chapter related from Horikoshi for a while or ever. So let's experience it in the way that we want to experience it, and let's come together and enjoy the final chapter when the stream happens, or if you're in a group chats, just have fun. That's all that matters. And whether or not Deku becomes the greatest fry cook, or he still becomes the greatest hero, I know that my time with this series has not been wasted. But yeah, I love this chapter. I love the series. I love the characters. I love Deku. 10 out of 10. Make sure to like the stream, drink some water, eat some food, get some rest if you can. And I'm out.
I want to echo like a lot of Thomas's sentiments. I'm gonna be real with you. One of the things that I think has always sucked about like stan culture kind of like blowing up is that people have lost the ability to recognize that sometimes people just genuinely like different shit. Like, and I've said it before multiple times, like the way My Hero is written just appeals to me. Like it is written in such a way that like every decision that's made, I tend to just be like, yeah, I get why that happened. That makes sense. I'm cool with that. It's very rare where something happens and I'm like, I feel like this. Like I don't feel. I've never felt cheated when reading a story.
Yeah.
Other people may have felt cheated. The closest I felt to getting cheated would have been Bakugo's death, and then Horikoshi fixed that because he wasn't dead. Which upset a lot of other people, but for me, it was like I would have felt robbed of a satisfying character conclusion if Bakugo had died there. We were like, oh, like you could do like posthumous like wrap ups, like with flashbacks to conversations, and da. It's like no, like that's not what I needed out of that character, or what I needed to be happy with the story writing for that character.
Have
And
you
I'm
seen
okay with
any
that.
anime
Like,
only reactions to the episode about it?
I've seen people like kind of freak out. I've seen a couple anime only reactions where they're just like, what? And I'm like, yeah, well, see what happens. Don't worry.
Your boy Roshi, shout out to them.
So, and like I just saw like a post here that's like, oh, they set up a lot of talks and stuff about saving these villains just to kill them in the end. But the whole point with some of these characters is like the League of Villains. Yes, they are tragic. Yes, they wanted to be saved, but fundamentally, the issue that the heroes had is that it's not that they're misguided; it's that they're not looking at the villains as people with their own convictions and ideals. Like we see, and this is again that metagaming, we see what they've been through and go, these are trauma responses, dude. The villains are like, this is the conclusion I have reached. This is my end goal. And so to look at it as betraying itself because the villains died is to me to like one, obviously like metagame the story, but two, yeah, you're scratching up this DVD. You shouldn't do that. Hold on, I gotta message my wife back. But
fine.
But it's one like that metagaming of the story, but two, the characters they themselves know, like, and Toga even asked, like, you know, what it's actually for, because when you're metagaming a story and when you choose to look at the conclusion script for each of the metagaming of the story, your conclusion would be Deku beats Shigaraki, hides his body. Deku or Ochako beats Toga, hides his body. Toya loses, but they manage to like get them pieces back together, and they have a talk, and then they sneak the League of Villains out of the country, and they go live off on a quiet island, and they get to have a peaceful life, and they like airdrop them or airship them food and supplies to make sure they live okay. It makes that like League of Villains beach episode where Kurogiri and the League of Villains were supposed to do training on that island, and instead they ended up like bullying him into getting into video games and stuff. That's a super metagamey ending where the catharsis that people are going to feel for these characters, like on our side, cool. But like in story, if we're treating this as their own world, which is what Horikoshi mentions too, is like, I'm being faithful to my world. None of those niggas care enough about any of the shit that happened to these characters or these villains enough to be like, yes, Shigaraki may have destroyed my cousin and my cousin's entire family and all this other stuff in Deka, and my house may be gone, and I don't have my right leg anymore, and my wife doesn't have her arm, and blah 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 blah, like list long of cross country complications caused by all the shit the League of Villains got into. But yeah, let's rehab them. No. When you get to that level of terrorist action, no matter what the good guys wanted to do on a personal level, it was never going to be that sweet. And like I think that's something that I thought we all knew, like on a deep down level. But I understand because, you know, like Seth always says, Horikoshi does try to write like a more optimistic story. So I think that like bit of optimism people had, they applied to the league, where that optimism needed to be applied to society and preventing more people from going down the path of the league, not the people who had already gone down that way. Like,
Yep.
there is a point of no return in many ways, and like if you dedicate yourself to doing lots of heinous things, in the same way that Endeavor is like, yep, that's okay, Natsuo. All right, well, I won't be at your wedding because you said I won't be there, blah blah blah. You just have to take that L forever. And that's not really the conclusion or karma that I'd want for those characters either. I'd rather Toga get to die on her own terms than effectively knowing that she's going to die in 60 years in a box, but she'll have happened to have more friendly visits from Ochako and Deku. Like, that's still a death sentence. It's just a longer drawn out one. Same way like Dabi got. He's going to get to talk to his family, but he's still going to die. There's no intent to save him. It's just about getting that bit of family and that love before he goes. So yeah, I don't know. I'm happy with how the story was done, and I'm looking forward to this final chapter. Everybody who was going to be there, and yeah, might take a couple weeks off from streaming just to, have a bit more free time.
Oh
Hey, especially because you're walking a little more. Yeah, you were just walking around during the stream multiple times, and you're fussy butt. So, but yeah. So I appreciate everybody. Who knows? Maybe I'll post pictures of food that I cook or something like that. Grill more like this. Thank you all. I appreciate everybody, and thank you, Horror Coach, for creating this story. As much as Seth says, thank you for creating this the Church of MHA. It wouldn't have happened without an MHA. And so for that, I do thank you guys, and I thank you for creating this story. Hope you enjoy your vacations all, and we're out. Take care.
Oh yeah.
We're not out yet. I did not find the button. I don't know why.
Damn, they're about to hear me thirst over Thomas on stream.
Oh
It's
my
crazy.
god,
No,
don't.